What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7 milliliters. Chapter 141. The Hokage of the past appears. Please subscribe. Sasuke looked at Uchiha Xiao and had a new concept of Uchiha Xiao's strength. The two looked back and saw that the base had now become a ruin. Uchiha Xiao crossed her arms and showed a rather troubled expression. Let's go and find a new base. Uchiha Xiao lifted Tsunade's body up and left instantly, followed by Sasuke. In a small village, all the villagers looked ahead with fearful expressions, and saw a handsome man standing there. The man was holding a black stick, and he used it to stab the patriarch of the most powerful family in the village to death. Uchiha Xiao looked around at the surrounding villagers and said, "Is this the most powerful person in your village?" Uchiha Xiao flicked his arm and the man's body was thrown to the ground. Then he continued, "I will manage you from now on. Whoever wants to resist me, there is such a person." As he said this, Feng Zhixiao pointed at the house on the ground with a black stick. "Villagers, look at me and I look at you." Okay. The villagers burst into cheers, and some even took out champagne and started cheering. Uchiha Xiao and Sasuke looked at each other. Is there something wrong with this village? Uchiha Xiao waved his hand. He 21 was too lazy to care so much. Is there any problem that he could not solve with just one blow? The three of them moved into the most luxurious mansion in the village, lying on the soft bed, and Tsunade woke up leisurely. She looked around and was confused for a moment. Then she stood up from the bed. Although the mansion was quite big, it was still very easy to find someone. Tsunade met Uchiha Xiao. Woke up. Tsunade nodded. Then she hesitated and said, "Jiraiya. How is it?" Uchiha Xiao said bluntly, "Dead." The luster in Tsunade's eyes suddenly dimmed, and then gradually brightened again. Uchiha Xiao chuckled and said, "I thought you would cry and make a fuss, mourning for your old friend." There was a trace of sadness between Tsunade's eyebrows, but not as much as Uchiha Xiao imagined. Tsunade said, "Hey, crying and making a fuss, will it help?" Uchiha Xiao said, "Everything in the world is impermanent. Where there is light, there is shadow. Everything in the world cannot be what you want. If you want to get something, you have to pay something. You should understand this truth." Tsunade nodded. She knew that Uchiha Xiao was talking about Naoki and Dan. Is it really worth the effort to resurrect these two people? Tsunade followed Uchiha Xiao's train of thought and started thinking. Now on the other side. The ruins of the Uzumaki clan, Namendo. Because the fourth Hokage is still in Shinigami's belly, Orochimaru had to travel thousands of miles to come here. Fortunately, he had the help of the ugly Kamui. Thinking of Obito's Sharingan, Orochimaru also wanted to drool a little. He washed his face with his tongue to cover up the greed in his heart. Obito asked Orochimaru, "Are you all ready?" White Zetsu's main body shouted, "Hurry up and start." Orochimaru nodded, and then began to form seals with his hands. The next second, 4 complex techniques began to glow. The 4 white Zetsu trapped in the bandages began to squirm crazily, and then a burst of debris enveloped them. While waiting for reincarnation, Orochimaru said to Obito, "This time, because the sacrifice is white Zetsu with first-generation cells, the cage's strength is probably very close to their prime. You have to be careful." Quote. Obito nodded. He had a hard time playing 4th generation back then. If there were 3 more players, Obito wouldn't dare to take the lead. Soon, the debris began to reorganize, and then transformed into 4 humanoid shapes. From 1st Hokage to 4th Hokage, they all appeared in front of the 3 people. Although Obito had heard about Impure world reincarnation, he had never seen Jusei in person, and he couldn't help but stare at it with wide eyes at this moment. 2nd generation looked at Orochimaru's face and felt dissatisfied. "Is it you again? You always use this technique to play with the dead. It seems that it would be better for me not to invent this technique back then." When 1st generation saw Orochimaru, he was also surprised. "It's you, a young man again." However, the one who was even more surprised was the 3rd generation, who said, "Orochimaru. Haven't you been killed by Uchiha Xiao?" 4th generation blinked. Why didn't he understand what the first 3 shadows said? "Sir, Mr. Orochimaru." Minato was very polite. Even though he was a rebellious nin, Orochimaru, he still used the honorific title. "Orochimaru. Do you still want to use us to attack Konoha?" The 3rd generation looked at Orochimaru with solemn eyes. Orochimaru said, "That's not the case. On the contrary, I need you to solve the crisis in the ninja world." Crisis. Hearing Orochimaru say this, 1st generation was shocked and said, "Is it possible that Uchiha Xiao?" Orochimaru said, "As expected of Shodai, you guessed it right, Uchiha Xiao, he is completely resurrected." Completely resurrected. 1st generation was completely dumbfounded. He just guessed that Uchiha Xiao was not sealed. How come it was resurrected directly? The atmosphere became tense at this time, and 2nd generation immediately asked, "How many years has it been since we were last summoned?" He. Orochimaru made a mocking voice, which, paired with Orochimaru's unique hoarse voice, seemed full of irony. The 4 Kage couldn't help feeling a little chilly when they heard Orochimaru's sinister laughter. First generation said directly. Hasn't anyone ever said that your laughter is ugly? Hehehehe. Orochimaru's laughter suddenly filled the room. Ha 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 ha. White Zetsu immediately gloated when he saw Orochimaru's appearance. When first generation saw White Zetsu, he immediately pointed at White Zetsu, and then patted second generation on the shoulder with his other hand. Tobirama, you read a lot of books. What kind of creature is that? Hiccup. White Zetsu's laughter suddenly disappeared. Tobirama held his forehead. I don't know, and brother, we 520 should focus on the key points now, right? Back to the topic, your name is Orochimaru, right? Answer me, how many years has it been since we were summoned? Orochimaru said with a smile. More than half a year. The three Kages were suddenly shocked, and second generation was the most surprised. As a master of ninjutsu, he has studied physical skills, medical skills, etc., so he naturally knew how difficult it would be for Uchiha Xiao to be completely resurrected. If there really is a secret technique for resurrection, how could it be possible to do it in just half a year? Orochimaru licked his tongue and said, that's why I'm laughing. As he said that, Yinmo wandered around the first generation with eyes like a lion majesty. First generation felt uncomfortable and glared. What are you looking at me for? Of course it's because as the creator of the will of fire, you taught a good granddaughter, Orochimaru showed a mocking expression. First generation did not hear Orochimaru's sarcasm, but scratched his head and laughed. Ha 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 ha, thank you, farmers are pretty good. Orochimaru. Second generation said speechlessly. Brother. He is mocking you, can't you hear it? First generation filled the room with laughter and said innocently, yes, really. Second generation said seriously. So, brother, please don't say anything. Now it's up to me to negotiate with this Orochimaru. Do you understand? Like a heavy stone hitting him, first generation's figure suddenly became sluggish. A drop of cold sweat broke out on Orochimaru's forehead, while Obito looked at Orochimaru and wondered if Orochimaru had summoned the wrong person. Chapter 142. Hashirama is shocked, Tsunade likes Uchiha Xiao. Please subscribe. Soon, Orochimaru told the four Kages what had happened in the past few months. Uchiha Xiao attacks Konoha. Uchiha Xiao is fully resurrected. Uchiha Xiao activates the Rinnegan. Uchiha Xiao captures eight-tailed beasts. All the major events in the past few months are related to Uchiha Xiao. And, what most people can't believe is, Uchiha Xiao's progress is so fast because of the help of first Hokage's granddaughter, Tsunade. However, when Orochimaru said this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, he did not say that Tsunade was coerced. The second generation had a solemn expression. Although he was already dead, the ninja world was built by him, and he valued the order of the ninja world very much. Second generation said solemnly, Uchiha Xiao has already achieved this step, I am afraid that he will rule the ninja world next. Third generation and others were also very dignified. First generation asked, how could Xiao Gang help that guy Xiao? Could it be? Does Xiao Gang like Xiao? Orochimaru said. Who knows? However, your granddaughter is now fighting side by side with the former enemy. How do you feel? Seeing Orochimaru trying to taunt first generation again and again, third generation angrily yelled, Orochimaru. You can't be so rude to Shodai. First generation didn't care about Orochimaru's ridicule and said, we are not enemies. Uchiha Xiao was my good friend before, but he accidentally went astray. Seeing the first generation's impeccable appearance, Orochimaru also sighed. He has been well versed in the ways of yin and yang in his life, but he did not expect that it would have no effect on the first generation. At this time, second generation spoke. Brother. You are too indulgent to the Uchiha clan. That's why this situation has happened. Just when Orochimaru looked like he was watching a show, second generation immediately looked at Orochimaru. And you are the main cause of this disaster. If you hadn't summoned him, this wouldn't have happened. Everyone also looked at Orochimaru with resentful eyes. Obito also looked at Orochimaru. If it weren't for Orochimaru, the Akatsuki organization would not be destroyed, and Project Tasuki no Mi would not be in ruins. The unlimited reading can be carried out smoothly. Feeling the blazing gazes around him, Orochimaru seemed to have no feeling at all. He spread his hands and said, the done thing is done, now all the Kages can do is put more effort. At this time, fourth generation asked about Naruto's situation. How is Naruto doing now? Fourth generation was a little nervous. At that time, his mental body was directly dispersed by Uchiha Xiao. He still doesn't know Naruto's current safety. Minato clenched his fists. With Uchiha Xiao's strength, he even felt that Naruto was dead. At this time, Obito answered. Naruto, not only can he freely control nine tails, he has also received the power given by Sage of Six Paths, and he is very powerful. As that's so, Minato was a little surprised. His best idea was that Naruto was hiding in Mount Myoboku. He didn't expect that Naruto was so strong now. At this moment, Minato suddenly woke up. He looked at the looming Sharingan under Obito's mask and said. You are the masked man who caused the Nine Tails rebellion. Who are you? Causing the chaos of Nine Tails. The first generation and second generation also looked at Obito, and they knew it was not a good word. Third generation also glanced at him. His wife Bawako died in the Nine Tails Rebellion. Orochimaru also looked sideways at Obito. Obito nodded slightly. I'm just an undead of Uchiha. HMPH. Second generation snorted coldly. It is true that the evil Uchiha is born. Whether it's Madara, Xiao, or you, most of the disasters in the ninja world are caused by these evil Uchiha clan. First generation was instantly unhappy. Tobirama. Stop saying that, have you forgotten Reina? And Xiao before Reina died, how they all yearned for peace at that time. Second generation said disdainfully. So this is the evil, extreme Uchiha. Look at Uchiha Xiao. That guy is simply an evil ghost after Reina's death. Although Obito participated in the genocide, he had no ill feelings toward Uchiha. After all, this was the place where he was born and raised, so he felt uncomfortable listening to second Hokage's words full of stereotypes. Obito retorted. So the next step is Uchiha's world. The first village that Uchiha Xiao will perish will be Konoha. Boom. A powerful momentum burst out from second generation. With this explosion, the floor cracked instantly, and some small stones and debris actually floated against gravity. Second generation crossed his arms and said with murderous intent, Uchiha brat, believe it or not, I can kill you right now. Orochimaru, feeling this chakra, also found that his control over second generation was very weak. A drop of cold sweat dripped from his forehead. It is true that the cage's strength is not that easy to control when they are close to being alive. Obito also felt this strong oppression, but Obito was not afraid at all. This is much worse than Uchiha Xiao's. At this moment, first generation shouted to second generation, Tobirama. That's enough. Just when second generation wanted to refute, first generation also burst out with momentum. As soon as this momentum exploded, even Orochimaru and Obito couldn't help but take 2 steps back. This power is even more terrifying than second generation. Second generation looked at first generation's serious look and knew that first generation was really angry. Second generation had no choice but to put away the chakra that broke out. Brother, don't break out chakra casually in the future. Seeing second generation's appearance, first generation's anger and chakra instantly dissipated. He patted second generation on the shoulder. Ha 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 Tobirama, you are still as cute as before. Originally, Obito was a little skeptical because of first generation's funny personality, but now that his momentum has exploded, he knows that first generation's strength is indeed not guaranteed. But, it's not enough. If facing the current Uchiha Xiao, such strength is far from enough. Obito's eyes flashed red. First generation waved his hand and said boldly, since the purpose of Orochimaru's reincarnation is to deal with Uchiha Xiao, then we are teammates. As he said that, first generation patted Orochimaru's shoulder too much. Orochimaru, good King Zhao, was sweating coldly and said yes again and again. Third generation looked at Orochimaru's appearance, shook his head and smiled. This boy can actually show such an expression. Obito spoke up at this time. You just need to defeat Uchiha Xiao, and then there will be nothing left for dead people like you. At this moment, Minato suddenly spoke up. No, it's not just about Uchiha Xiao. Obito saw Minato, and Minato was looking at him with burning eyes. I'm sorry, in view of the chaos of Nine Tails, I don't believe you, masked man, you will also bring trouble to the ninja world. Tobirama looked at Obito, his already indifferent eyes were a bit colder, then just deal with him here. Quote. Third generation's eyes gradually became colder when looking at Obito, and the chakra on his body began to slowly dissipate. The 3 shadows erupted with powerful chakra pressure, and the surrounding walls and floors began to crack. Obito even felt a little uneasy breathing. Chapter 143. Senju Tobirama, you still underestimate Uchiha's ability. Please subscribe. The idea of the 3 Hokages is very simple. There are already 4 Kage-level experts here, and there is Uzumaki Naruto with the power of 6 paths in front of them. Then Obito's identity is very embarrassing. Not only is he the initiator of the Nine Tails Rebellion, but he also seems to have a lot of hostility towards Konoha until now. Obito is not strong anyway, 1 more is not more, and 1 less is not more. While they are all here, it is the best plan to directly deal with this time bomb that is very likely to explode. Whoosh. Second generation's figure flashed, and his body flicker technique was also unique. Before Obito could react, he was already behind Obito. It's over. The sharp kunai cut through the air and pointed directly at Obito's heart from behind. However, the next second, the kunai missed and passed through Obito's body. All the shadows also reacted. Mangekyō Sharingan. Obito tilted his head slightly, and his deep voice slowly appeared through the mask. Senju Tobirama, you still underestimate Uchiha's ability. Second generation's eyes flashed. I have killed people who have Mangekyō Sharingan, and I don't mind killing the second one. The last person he killed who owned the Mangekyō Sharingan was Uchiha Madara's younger brother, Uchiha Izuna. In the eyes of second generation, this 070 masked man was even worse than Izuna. As he said that, the aura erupting from second generation became even more magnificent, and the murderous aura mixed with coercion overwhelmed Obito. Obito's expression changed, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. Second generation felt Obito's inner changes and showed a ferocious smile. Young man, let me show you the cruelty of the Sengoku period. Then, second generation quickly formed seals with both hands, and soon, some water droplets gradually appeared in the air. Seeing this, Obito also opened his legs slightly and put on a vigilant posture. Right here the battle is about to begin. Bang! A big hand grabbed second generation's hands. You can stop, Tobirama. First generation's expression was very serious, completely losing the familiarity it had just now. The second generation stared at the first generation's face for 2 or 3 seconds, and finally sighed, "Brother, you are still too kind to Uchiha." Although he said this, the second generation still accepted the chakra obediently. Got off. Seeing this, the third generation and the fourth generation also suppressed their murderous intent and chakra. The room that was originally filled with murderous intent instantly returned to a calm scene, as if everything just now was an illusion. First generation said slowly, "The most important thing now is to deal with Uchiha Xiao CBBE. If you have one more person, you will have more strength." With that said, first generation looked at Obito, his eyes looking directly at Obito's Sharingan without fear. "And I believe that since you can come and reincarnate us, your intentions are not bad, but..." First generation paused for a moment and then continued, "If you dare to continue to harm Konoha, I will kill you even to the ends of the earth." First generation's words did not erupt with chakra or release murderous aura or coercion, but only with his deep eyes that seemed to penetrate the soul. This has left Obito speechless. If Obito took off his mask at this time, everyone would be able to see his mouth opened in fear. First generation seemed to see the fear in Obito's heart. It seems that he has understood. Let's discuss how to deal with Uchiha Xiao. With chakra gathered at the soles of Shizune's feet, she jumped quickly between the trees and rushed towards the village. I wonder if Jiraiya-sama has successfully rescued Tsunade-sama. Shizune murmured, but he was still very hesitant in his heart. Because she also knows that there is still a huge gap between the strength of Jiraiya and Uchiha Xiao, but she still has some hope in her heart. Maybe Uchiha Xiao hasn't come back yet, and then Jiraiya can rescue Tsunade safely. Just as Shizune was praying secretly while walking on the road, he heard a whirring sound piercing the air from behind. Shizune quickly turned his head away, and a majestic eagle was coming. From the unusual chakra on its body, it can be seen that this is a summoning beast. Damn, Uchiha Xiao, are you going to take me back? Shizune stopped immediately and took out a poisoned kunai in his hand. At this time, the eagle made a voice. Calm down, I mean no harm, Shizune. The eagle stopped far away and expressed that he was not hostile to Shizune. Despite this, Shizune still put on a show. The ninja world is a world of intrigues, and one cannot easily listen to others, including summoningmon. Shizune frowned and was very alert. What are you going to do? Are you going to take me back? The eagle flapped its wings. Jiraiya has been killed by Lord Xiao. What? Shizune was instantly shocked. How could this happen in such a short time? Eagle made a disdainful voice. With Jiraiya's strength, it is already his honor to be able to last in Master Xiao's hands for so long. Shizune frowned and said nothing. She knew that Eagle had something to say next. As expected, Eagle continued. Your master, Tsunade, has decided to follow Mr. Xiao. Tsunade asked me to bring you a message, whether to return to Konoha or continue to follow Tsunade. What? Shizune's heart trembled, and then she said angrily to the eagle, are you kidding me? In Shizune's heart, although Tsunade has been away from the village for so long, she still belongs to the village in her heart. Moreover, Konoha was created with the blood and tears of Tsunade's ancestors. Even if Tsunade doesn't protect him, how can he stand on the opposite side of the village? The eagle seemed to have anticipated Shizune's disbelief. It opened its beak and spit out something. Something fell at Shizune's feet, a folded piece of paper. Shizune unfolded the paper, and the content inside made her surprised for a long time. This is a letter written by Tsunade himself. It contains exactly what the eagle said just now, whether to return to Konoha or continue to follow her. There is a specific code between Shizune and Tsunade's letters. From this code, it can be seen that Tsunade-sama is completely voluntary. Tsunade-sama is actually standing on the opposite side of Konoha. How could it be? Shizune collapsed to the ground all of a sudden. She had countless thoughts and couldn't figure out why Lord Tsunade betrayed Konoha. Even though she couldn't believe it, Shizune was still confused. Shizune actually wanted to return to Konoha, but when she thought about it, Master Tsunade did so many things for Uchiha Xiao just to keep her alive. It's all because of me. If I had died, these things wouldn't have happened. Shizune thought painfully in his heart, falling into deep self-blame. What to do? What to do? Shizune murmured. The eagle did not rush, but waited quietly for Shizune. As time passed, Shizune slowly stood up from the ground. After much thought and struggle, Shizune made a decision in his mind. Shizune wiped the tears on her face, and in order to atone for her sin, she still planned to go to Master Tsunade. Tsunade-sama cannot be allowed to bear the curse of the ninja world alone. Take me to Tsunade-sama. Shizune looked at the eagle, his eyes showing unprecedented calmness and determination. Then, the eagle flapped its wings and led Shizune to the small village that Uchiha Xiao had recently found. Chapter 144. Bad news about the master, Naruto's oath. Please subscribe. A few days after the battle between Uchiha Xiao and Jiraiya, a group of ninjas found Uchiha Xiao's base, which had become a ruin. It looks like there was a big fight. Who asked Uchiha Xiao to create such a big battle? A group of ninjas were discussing and observing the surrounding ruins. A young ninja looked at the mountain not far away and swallowed in fear. He saw that the mountain in front of him was very flat, as if a giant knife had cut off the top of the mountain. An older ninja patted the dazed young ninja. Be prepared, we are facing this kind of enemy. His expression was very indifferent, and he was already prepared to die for the village. At this moment, the ninja not far away shouted, "Everyone, come on, there's a big discovery here." After hearing this, other ninjas rushed over and immediately exclaimed, "Jiraiya-sama, I saw Jiraiya's body lying there. His body was covered with scars, but there was still a smile on his lips. It's been at this level for several days. Report to Lord Hokage." Soon, the news of Jiraiya's death spread throughout ninja. Jiraiya's strength has been widely recognized by everyone in previous battles. In everyone's opinion, Jiraiya is the main force against Uchiha Xiao. But this main force sneaked into Uchiha Xiao's base alone for a woman who had betrayed Konoha. As a result, this hero of the ninja world ended in such a funny way. While the ninja world was indignant, they also became more desolate about the current situation. The ninja world lacks another powerful fighting force, and it will be even more difficult to face Uchiha Xiao. Different from the performance of other ninja villages, Konoha is more covered with a layer of sad haze. Boom. The door to Hokage's office was kicked open. Kakashi, who was working on the documents, was startled for a moment. When he saw the person coming, he showed a real expression. Naruto's face was covered with tears and he walked quickly to Kakashi's desk. Naruto was very sad and angry. "Teacher Kakashi, when are you going to attack Uchiha Xiao?" There was also a hint of worry in Kakashi's eyes. "Naruto, I understand your mood very well, but it really can't be done now." Naruto wiped the tears on his face with his sleeve, and then yelled, "You don't want to go? Then I will go." With that said, Naruto was about to turn around. At the moment Naruto turned around, several Anbu suddenly appeared and surrounded Naruto. Naruto's eyes turned red instantly and he growled, "Do you think you can stop me?" Several Anbu were also frightened by this momentum, and they also knew that they could not stop Naruto. Now is not the time to be willful. Naruto. Kakashi's voice appeared, full of unquestionable flavor. Seeing that Naruto didn't speak, Kakashi continued, "Uchiha Xiao has moved his position. We don't know where he is hiding now, and it is too dangerous for you to go alone. The most important thing is." Kakashi paused and continued, "You yourself also know that you still have the last tailed beast in the ninja world, half of Nine Tails chakra, and Uchiha Xiao, maybe he has laid some trap, waiting for you to go in jumping." Naruto's back was turned to Kakashi, so no one could see his expression. Jiraiya is a master in the true sense. He not only does the work of preaching and learning, but also really plays the role of a father. With her meticulous care and unabashed attention, even though the time we spent together was not very long, Jiraiya had already occupied a very important place in Naruto's heart. Thinking of Jiraiya's generous smiling face, Naruto's eyes couldn't stop crying again. Kakashi waved his hand, and several Anbu disappeared in a blink of an eye. Kakashi walked up to Naruto and patted him on the shoulder. "Naruto, although you are still young, you must grow up under this situation. I know it is cruel, but it is also what you have to face." Naruto sniffed a few times. In fact, he also knew what Kakashi just said. Naruto clenched his fists. He was still too weak. No matter it was Sasuke, Tsunade, or Jiraiya, the people he cherished could not just come down. Kakashi looked at Naruto's expression and calmed down again. He was relieved and sad at the same time. At this age, he already has to bear the fate of the ninja world and the future of the village. These things are really too stressful for a 13-year-old child. On the other side, Obito and Orochimaru brought several shadows to Akatsuki's base. Here, Orochimaru brought several shadows from other ninja villages to Impure World Reincarnation. Obito looked at the row of coffins in front of him and said to Orochimaru, "It would be better to test the strength of Impure World Reincarnation. Let 3rd Raikage and 2nd Tsuchikage attack Uchiha Xiao. If possible, it is best to get the Rinnegan back." Asking for flowers. Okay. Orochimaru nodded and immediately started the operation. Bang. Bang. The 2 coffin boards fell to the ground, and then 2 figures slowly walked out of the coffin. 3rd Raikage came out. His hair color and skin color were exactly the same as Iru. His muscles were very thick, and he had a tattoo of the word, thunder, on his right shoulder. He looked very haughty. 2nd Tsuchikage, on the other hand, is very thin and even covered in bandages. This look would look out of place even in a hospital, and he might even be able to fit into 10 beds. Is this the world after death? 3rd Raikage clasped his hands and murmured. 2nd Tsuchikage is the famous, the resourceful general. He looked around and quickly judged the current situation. This is the ninja world. It seems that someone used some special technique to resurrect us. As they spoke, the 2 looked at Obito and Orochimaru in front of them. 3rd Raikage-sama, Second Tsuchikage-sama, welcome back to the ninja world. Orochimaru smiled and spread his hands in a welcome look. To be precise, you are not resurrected, but your flexibility is placed on a body. Orochimaru tells the principle of impure world reincarnation. It's surprising that there is such an ninjutsu in the world. Third Raikage crossed his arms and sighed. Second Tsuchikage was very calm. Tell me, why did you come to us? It is not a polite thing to disturb the rest of the deceased. A faint threat came from Second Tsuchikage. Orochimaru said. Ah, as expected of Mr. Mew, who is famous as the resourceful general, I will make a long story short. His words are really to the point, then I will make a long story short. Soon, Orochimaru told about Uchiha Xiao's resurrection and the fact that the ninja world has been united today. Second Tsuchikage and Third Raikage looked at each other and saw surprise in each other's eyes. It seems that this is not your fault. In such a crisis, it is no wonder that we, the dead, have to come forward. As he said, Second Tsuchikage looked to the side. Zhang saw that there were also 10 rows of coffins here. Is there still as many people as Impure World Reincarnation? Second Tsuchikage asked. Orochimaru nodded and said. Yes, after being fully resurrected and possessing the Rinnegan, as well as the power of 8-tailed beasts, Uchiha Xiao's strength is now even more terrifying than before. Chapter 145. Who is Hokage? Please subscribe. Second Tsuchikage nodded. He knew Uchiha Xiao's strength very well. He clearly remembered that all the first-generation Kage in the 5 great ninja villages, except Konoha, died at the hands of Uchiha Xiao. And because of this, he was able to become Second Tsuchikage early. For Uchiha Xiao, these preparations may not be enough. At this time, Obito spoke. Are you done talking? When you are done talking, go find Uchiha Xiao quickly, don't waste time here. Orochimaru looked at Obito speechlessly. Have you always been so brave? The two looked at Obito and saw the bright red color under the mask. Second Tsuchikage said sarcastically. It turns out to be Uchiha, and he is still so damned. Third Raikage also said. It's all because of Uchiha that the ninja world has become like this. Orochimaru hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over, and then said. You two, calm down, I am reincarnating you 990s this time because I am asking for help from you. With that said, Orochimaru stated his plan. Second Tsuchikage and Third Raikage will be the vanguard first. The first is to test the ability of Impure World Reincarnation, the soil is to explore the information of Uchiha Xiao. The two Kage nodded in agreement. They were already dead, and even if they couldn't defeat Uchiha Xiao, there was no loss. At this moment, a voice suddenly appeared from the side. We're going to. When everyone looked around, they saw first generation raising his hands and shouting like a primary school student. Second generation crossed its arms next to first generation, obviously wanting to follow. The second Tsuchikage and the third Raikage also saw the first generation. This seems to be the first Hokage and the second Hokage. Third Raikage whispered. Why does first Hokage look like this? He doesn't look like a ninja god at all. Second Tsuchikage looked like I had known him for a long time. He is an idealist. For the sake of peace, he has kowtowed to all the movies. I have no doubt that such a person has such a character. Obito glanced at first generation and second generation. No, you two are the last trump cards, you can't be exposed so easily. First generation's figure suddenly appeared on the first floor, and the whole person became sluggish. The second generation said unhappily, do you think you are qualified to order me? Uchiha's brat. Then, he looked at the first generation. Brother, let's go. Oh, first generation regained its strength, and then the two of them walked out of the base very calmly. Obito and Orochimaru can only do this and watch. After all, the first generation and second generation are too strong and difficult to control. Third Raikage and second Tsuchikage also followed. At this moment, fourth generation Fire and third Hokage came over. Fourth generation said to Orochimaru with some embarrassment, Orochimaru Senpai, third generation Sama and I want to go back to Konoha. Orochimaru said helplessly, I can't control you much. Even if you want to kill me, it will be difficult for me to resist. The meaning of this sentence is obvious, it's up to you. The fourth generation knew that they could go back, and when they thought of seeing Naruto again, they felt excited inside. The third generation feels a bit happy and a bit sad in his heart. He knows that with Uchiha Xiao here, Konoha may not be what it used to be. The two had just taken a few steps outside when third generation suddenly turned around and said, Orochimaru, do you want to go back with me? Orochimaru was stunned for a moment after hearing this. He didn't look into third generation's eyes and said, I won't go back. I still have to deal with the Impure World Reincarnation matter. As this so, later, the third generation and the fourth generation left the village and ran towards Konoha. Watching the two people walking away, Obito and Orochimaru sighed together. Obito looked at Orochimaru resentfully. Can this level of control be said to be perfect? Orochimaru said with some dissatisfaction. This is already the ultimate level of the Impure World Reincarnation technique. If you want to completely control them, you have to give up most of their strength. If you want to give them a strength close to that in life, then you have to give up control. Obito was speechless. After all, he knew nothing about scientific research. The scene shifts to Konoha, where the fourth generation and the third generation stand on the Hokage Yanyan. Although the village has been rebuilt, the powerful traces of destruction have not been eliminated. The two of them felt a little sad in their hearts when they looked at the traces of Super Shinra Tianzhong. Third generation said. The Nine Tails Rebellion did not cause such destruction. At this moment, in the eyes of third generation, Uchiha Xiao has become the biggest threat since the village was founded. Fourth generation frowned. Uchiha Xiao. I will definitely deal with him and give the village peace. His eyes were determined, and he didn't mind sealing away the zombies 10 more times. At this moment, there was a noise behind the two of them, and more than a dozen figures were seen rushing over. These people are all Anbu from Konoha. Some sentient ninjas said that they sensed two extremely powerful chakras in Hokage Yanyan. They immediately started to gather and came over. After all, the damage caused by Uchiha Xiao before was too profound, and the Anbu who heard that it was Hokage Yanyan and powerful chakra all became vigilant. And the people who originally looked ferocious and were ready to die at any moment were almost shocked when they saw those two figures. They are. Third generation item. Fourth generation item. Is it Impure World Reincarnation again? An Anbu captain stepped forward and held his ninja sword in front of him. What are you? Third generation looked at Captain Anbu, and then showed a kind smile. It's Falcon, how are you doing recently? Falcon was suddenly startled, and even the ninja sword he was holding trembled slightly. Third generation Sama. Although we are Impure World Reincarnation, fortunately the caster still has some conscience, and we are free now. Third generation said with a smile. It has been less than a year since the death of the third generation. Looking at that familiar smiling face, everyone felt as if they were in another world. Moreover, after hearing that there was no threat from the third generation and the fourth generation, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Not to mention two shadows here, even if there is only one, their dozen Anbu are not enough to give away. Third generation looked at the Hokage building. The current Hokage is Jiraiya, right? Go and inform that boy. Hayabusa was stunned for a moment, and then said, Third generation Sama, the current fifth Hokage is Kakashi-sama. Third generation was also stunned for a moment, and then expressed helplessness in expression 4.0, that boy must be shirking responsibility again. Kakashi is not bad. Minato, you have taught a good student. Minato scratched his head and felt a little embarrassed. Ha ha ha, the teacher may also have his own ideas. Third generation clasped his hands behind his back. Let's go, Minato, let's see if Kakashi is slacking off. Minato is also a little excited. He has always felt ashamed of Kakashi. Now that he knows that Kakashi has become Hokage, he must be very happy. The two turned into afterimages and flew towards the Hokage building, leaving only a dozen Anbu blowing in the wind in embarrassment. You said, since both the third generation and the fourth generation are here, it's very promising to defeat Uchiha Xiao. Maybe the first generation and Nadaime have also been reincarnated. Listening to the discussion of his subordinates, Hayabusa felt excited in his heart. It seems that the ninja world can still be saved. Chapter 146. Hashirama and Tobirama come to the door. Please subscribe. Do. There was a knock on the door. Kakashi glanced at Naruto who was staying in Hokage's office, sighed helplessly, and then said, Please come in. Just when the door opened, Kakashi was stunned. He rubbed his eyes to confirm whether what he saw was true. Kakashi, I haven't seen you for a few days. Are you nearsighted? An old voice said. Kakashi's throat trembled, and he couldn't speak for a long time. Naruto's mind also trembled. This voice sounded like Grandpa third generation. Before Naruto could turn around, another gentle voice sounded. Kakashi, you have grown up too. Naruto turned his head suddenly, and there were two familiar figures standing there, the two people he missed every night when he dreamed. Third generation Grandpa. Dad. Naruto couldn't hold back his tears anymore and ran over to give Minato a bear hug. Naruto hugged Minato, and he greedily smelled Minato's scent, as if this could imbue his father's scent deep into his memory. Minato touched Naruto's head. Naruto, you are here. Naruto raised his head and showed a resentful look. It's okay 21, who told me that I am Hokage's son? Third generation looked at this scene and smiled. Suddenly, he missed Konohamaru in his heart. At this time, Kakashi also came over. Master third generation, master. Third generation also looked at Kakashi and his intact eyes. HMPH, it seems that a lot of things happened during my absence. Kakashi sighed. It's a mixed blessing. Well, the worry accounts for more. Minato looked at Naruto's eyes and thought, these eyes are as blue as mine. At this moment, he found that Naruto's eyes were moist again. Does my son love to cry so much? However, Naruto choked up and said, Dad, pervy sage, passed away. Upon hearing this, Minato's hand that was stroking Naruto's hair suddenly stopped. Third generation smiling face also dropped, his eyes trembled slightly, and then he looked out the window again. Even teacher. Minato closed her eyes and hugged Naruto tighter. Kakashi said, a lot of things have happened recently, let me tell you. Later, Kakashi told the story starting from when Uchiha Xiao was Impure World Reincarnation, and some important information in the middle. Kakashi also told the 3rd generation and 4th generation without reservation. Asuma was killed in battle, Might Guy was killed in battle, Tsunade rebelled, and the Great Ninja War occurred less than 3 months later. This incident was like a scale that kept adding weight, making the two people's moods become even lower bit by bit. These things have the greatest impact on the 3rd generation. His wife Bawako died during the Nine Tails Rebellion, and his only son Asuma also died on the battlefield. And Tsunade, originally he thought Orochimaru might be telling nonsense, but now it's confirmed that Tsunade has really rebelled. 3rd generation really can't figure it out. In terms of bloodline and status, it's not an exaggeration to say that Tsunade has a strong foundation and the village is the hard work of Tsunade's ancestors. Why would Tsunade rebel against the village? If not, the 3rd generation would have been smoking until they were filled with smoke. The 4th generation's biggest worry at this time was the future of the village. Under Kakashi's explanation, he discovered that Uchiha Xiao was more dangerous than he thought. Minato looked at Naruto standing in front of him, feeling proud and distressed in his heart. He was proud that Naruto's strength had far surpassed that of his father, but he felt sorry for Naruto, who had to bear so much at such a young age. On the other side, 1st generation and 2nd generation have arrived outside a village. Uchiha Xiao would actually hide in a village like this. 1st generation said with emotion. 2nd generation said solemnly. Then call him out here. If we start fighting inside, many civilians will be hurt. After saying that, 2nd generation spread the chakra in, both for sensing and. It is also a signal to Uchiha Xiao. Uchiha Xiao's mind moved, and even he was a little surprised. This aura is actually them, and the perceived strength seems to be very close to that in life. Soon, Uchiha Xiao thought of a figure in her mind, that man who looked like Lion Majesty. Sure enough, no matter how hard I beat that cockroach, immune to death. Zibo Xiao murmured. Tsunade, who was studying medical skills on the side, wondered, what did you say? What cockroach? At this time, Uchiha Xiao suddenly smiled at Tsunade. Let's go, I will take you to meet 2 enemies, you also know them. Tsunade was a little confused. Uchiha Xiao's time was more than half a century ago. What old friends could there be? Did she even know him? The two walked out of the mansion. Sasuke was a little suspicious, but then followed them quietly. Uchiha Xiao looked at the two of them with a chuckle on his face. Long time no see, 2 brothers from the Senju family. Uchiha Xiao stood in front of Tsunade. When she heard Uchiha Xiao's words, Tsunade's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She quickly stepped forward and looked at the 2 people outside. In an instant, her expression changed drastically, and she took 2 steps back involuntarily. Grandpa, 2nd grandpa, Sasuke, who was observing secretly not far away, was also shocked. The 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage were the pinnacle existences second only to Tezuya Xiao back then. I didn't expect to see 3 strong men meeting today. Sasuke felt excited in his heart, this kind of battle was not common. One is Uchiha Xiao, who is called Shira in the ninja world and the most dangerous ninja, and the other is Senju Hashirama, who is called the god of ninja. This was a battle between the top ninjas in the world. Sasuke's eyes widened. He wanted to know how far he was from the top of the ninja world. As for the 2nd Hokage, Sasuke ignored it first. When 1st generation saw Tsunade, a happy expression appeared on his face, and he even waved to her happily. 2nd generation's face was filled with disappointment. Tsunade bit her lip. She had originally made up her mind to stay here, but when she saw her grandfather and 2nd grandfather, she instantly became entangled in her heart. Finally, she spoke. Grandpa, 2nd grandpa. I'm sorry. However, before Tsunade could finish his words, 1st generation said directly, Xiao Suna, grandpa passed away early and didn't take good care of you by your side. If you want to do anything, as long as you don't regret yourself it's your decision, then do it. In an instant, Tsunade's eyes couldn't stop crying. 2nd generation suddenly spoke. Brother. You dote on Tsunade too much. Tsunade, as a descendant of the Senju clan, you not only follow evil people like Uchiha Xiao, why do you stand on the opposite side of the village? Tsunade lowered his head, feeling infinite hesitation in his heart. 1st generation frowned. Tobarama, please stop saying a few words, we are dead people, we can't always interfere in the lives of the younger generations. Uchiha Xiao raised his eyebrows. 1st generation's words were not only teaching 2nd generation a lesson, but also alluding to him. As expected, 1st generation turned to Uchiha Xiao. Xiao, how on earth are you going to give up unifying the ninja world? Uchiha Xiao crossed his arms. It's okay to give up on unifying the ninja world, but there is one condition. 1st generation's eyes immediately lit up. The conditions are okay, what conditions? As long as we can bring peace to the ninja world, there is no problem in letting 1st generation cede territory and pay compensation. Uchiha Xiao's expression instantly turned cold. Let's turn back time and go back to the days before Reina suffered. 1st generation gritted his teeth, his expression a bit painful. You are so willful, Xiao, you personally built the ninja world, are you going to destroy it now? Uchiha Xiao made a seal with both hands. Maybe, but in the same way, you can be naive. Silently, a fallen leaf flew between the two of them in the sky, and then slowly fell to the ground. At the moment when the leaves touched the ground, the two figures disappeared. Chapter 147. Uchiha Xiao's Strength. Please subscribe. What? Sasuke, who was observing from a distance, exclaimed. He had opened his Sharingan early, but even his Sharingan could not see the movements of the two people clearly. Tsunade felt heavy. She flew back and distanced herself from the battlefield. She didn't want to see her elders fighting with Uchiha Xiao. Boom. Both of them have powerful powers. Senju has the unique power of his family, and Uchiha Xiao is not afraid, he also has his own supernatural power. So as soon as the two fists collided, a strong air flow burst out, and their feet also left a ferocious spider web mark on the ground. Second generation crossed his arms in front of him, and the two fists collided with an energy that even second generation had never seen before. The strong wind blew their hair around, and then they both saw the fighting spirit in each other's eyes. The fists continued to roar, and Uchiha Xiao blocked them with his hands. Then first generation fired a series of punches. The important thing is that each punch was full of strange power. Every time a punch is struck, there will be an explosion of bang, bang, which sounds extremely terrifying. Uchiha Xiao's expression remained unchanged, his hands turned into palms, and he caught first generation's fists one by one. Every time he received a punch, the wind caused by the punch made his clothes ripple. Sasuke was very frightened when he saw it. He felt that first generation could destroy his Susanoo with just one punch using only physical skills. The two were having a great time fighting each other in body arts, but you must know that first generation was not the only one fighting. Water-style water blade slash. A sharp sound of breaking through the air and the sound of water flowing rang in his ears. Uchiha Xiao immediately kicked off his legs and flew into the air. The next second, a blue figure was seen stabbing from diagonally above where Uchiha Xiao was just now. Click. The water blade scraped a very smooth and flat crack on the surface. Second generation incorporated water-style chakra into kunai, which is very powerful. If it was cut just now, not only the outer skin would be cut, but even the internal organs would be washed away by these rapids. Shout. Second generation snorted and blew away the water-style chakra of the kunai in his hand. At this time, Uchiha Xiao was still in midair, and he had already completed the seal after taking off just now. Fire-style Great Fire extinguishes arrows. Call. The attack range of this move is extremely large, and its power is even greater than that of Haohuo Mie. A huge fireball erupted like a meteorite. In the middle, the fireball began to slowly disperse, increasing the range of the attack. Soon, the fireball offensive turned into a sea of fire like fairy flowers. Second generation raised his head, facing the fire that was like a natural disaster, he calmly made two seals. Water-style water barrier. The water wall surrounds second generation in a circle, forming a defense without blind spots. Boom. The flames scattered around like rain, and there was a burst of sound in an instant. An ordinary water-style ninja would not dare to use water-style in the face of such a fire, for fear that he would be burned by the water vapor. However, second generation is different. Its water-style has a high chakra content and a large amount of water, so there is no need to worry about being burned by water vapor. Soon, this huge fire was easily resolved by a water-style from second generation. Sasuke was a little dumbfounded by this. He admitted that he looked down on second generation just now. If he wanted to resist the fire that Uchiha Xiao had just breathed out, he might have to turn Susanoo into the fourth form or even the full form to completely resist it. However, second Hokage could be solved with just a water style. On the battlefield, the flames were extinguished, but second generation did not stop the surrounding water. Second generation made a seal with both hands, and then shouted, "Ha! Hu! Tilde operator." The water barrier rotates at high speed and then slowly rises. At the top of the water barrier, the water flow begins to slowly converge into the shape of a faucet. Water-style water dragon bomb technique. The water dragon seemed to be a god, its eyes glowing with blue light, staring straight at Uchiha Xiao. It sounded like a dragon roaring, or the sound of water, accompanied by a loud sound. The water dragon swept violently toward Uchiha Xiao. Second generation's water style can really be called a monstrous beast. In Uchiha Xiao's eyes, the water dragon carries the torrent of the superstar, like an ancient giant beast rushing towards him. Under this violent water force, even the earth was torn apart by the erosion of these currents. Sasuke swallowed as he watched from a distance. For the first time, he felt that water style could be so strong. This was the first time in his life that he had the idea of learning water style. Although it was only for a moment, it was enough to imagine the shock that second generation gave him. Facing these two brothers, and the two brothers who were almost at the peak of their strength, Uchiha Xiao was too lazy to try any more basic ninjutsu. With a thought, the red chakra swept across Uchiha Xiao's body. Susanoo. A second form of Susanoo rises from the ground. Boom. Crack. The water dragon and rapids hit Susanoo hard, and just hearing the sound made people feel sore. Uchiha Xiao was inside Susan, and the moment the water dragon hit him, Susan's whole body couldn't help but tremble a few times. Click. Uchiha Xiao looked at Susan's abdomen, where the water dragon had just attacked, and a short mark had been left by the water. Hey, it seems that with the help of infinite chakra, that boy Tobirama has unleashed a more powerful attack than before. Uchiha Xiao sneered. Although second generation is also of the Senju family, it has a lot of chakra thanks to it, but generating water style out of thin air actually consumes a lot of chakra. In addition, water dragon bomb is also a technique that consumes a lot of chakra. So in the past, ninjutsu like second generation couldn't fire 3 or 4 rounds without chakra. Now with the help of Impure World Reincarnation's infinite chakra, second generation can even bombard Uchiha Xiao with this water dragon move infinitely. Seeing Uchiha Xiao using Susanna, first generation immediately clapped his hands. Wood-style wooden dragon technique. Then a huge wooden dragon burst out of the ground. Before Susan could draw his sword to chop, the wooden dragon immediately tied up Susan with its body. Under the powerful force, Susanoo couldn't even break free for a while. Uchiha Xiao also felt a little struggling. The wood style performed by first generation was still very strong. This wooden dragon was not only stronger in strength but also in size. It was a bit stronger than the one performed by Uchiha Xiao. Susanoo struggled a few times, Zhao Lihao, and found that he was indeed tied up. The only way was to change Susanoo into the fourth or complete form. Just when Uchiha Xiao wanted to gather chakra. Whoosh. At this moment, the figure of second generation had sneaked behind Uchiha Xiao's Susan. He quietly pasted a detonation talisman on Susanna. Ninpo tandem paper bombs. As a detonating talisman exploded, endless detonating talismans appeared on Susanna's body, and then continued to explode and generate. Soon, there were more and more fire and black smoke on Susan's body. Uchiha Xiao took a look and saw that Susan's back was already full of cracks, and he would not be able to hold on in a few seconds. Sasuke looked at this scene and was very surprised. He didn't expect that under the continuous attacks of first generation second Hokage, the two seemed to have the upper hand, and Uchiha Xiao was actually at a disadvantage. In the past, in his eyes, Uchiha Xiao had always been an undefeated legend. Chapter 148. Flying Thunder God, is it useful? Please subscribe. Tisk. Seeing Susanna break, Uchiha Xiao made a dissatisfied voice. Under this series of bombardments, Uchiha Xiao's Susanoo quickly collapsed and turned into pieces. The tandem paper bombs quickly stopped exploding after losing their target, leaving only a large cloud of smoke on the battlefield. Sasuke was eager to see how Uchiha Xiao was doing. Sasuke thought for a moment about that kind of horrific explosion. If it were him, he probably wouldn't survive. Then, Sasuke looked at second generation with a strange look. Could it be that second generation is the strongest one? In the battle just now, it was second Hokage who was doing the damage. The natural disaster like water dragon and the detonating talisman that exploded continuously left a deep impression on Sasuke. The red light of the explosion shone in Tsunade's eyes, and Tsunade's eyes flickered, thinking about something. Outsiders don't know, but second generation, as someone who has gotten along with Uchiha Xiao, knows that there is absolutely no way that Uchiha Xiao could be killed in a bomb like this, not to mention that he is still stronger now than before. With this in mind, second generation continued to form seals. Water-style water-severing wave. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The water flow was compressed to the extreme and turned into a sharp water jet, which was shot into the thick smoke. Uchiha Xiao was naturally fine. He moved his ears slightly and heard the sound of water flowing. Whoosh. A 363 water jet flew towards him, but Uchiha Xiao avoided it in anticipation. Another one flew towards him, and he continued to dodge, followed by more water knives, and his figure became faster and faster. However, at this moment, Uchiha Xiao seemed to have discovered something, and his scarlet eyes turned to the water-severing wave rushing by. Flying Thunder God Slash. The figure of second generation suddenly appeared, holding a ninja sword and stabbing Uchiha Xiao straight in the heart. However, Uchiha Xiao seemed to have expected it. He stretched out a hand early, twitched his hand suddenly, and directly took the second generation's ninja sword in his hand. Grab the knife. Second generation's face instantly turned ugly. Uchiha Xiao smiled. Put the Flying Thunder God Kunai into the water-severing wave. It's yours, Tobirama. Uchiha Xiao recognized second generation's intelligence. However, in the ears of second generation, this is a great irony. You have seen through my plan, and then you praise me. Isn't this ridicule? But now that we are close, we must fight to the death to get a piece of meat from Uchiha Xiao. Anyway, he is just Impure World Reincarnation. Whoosh. 2 kunai appeared in second generation's hands, wrapped the kunai with water style, and attacked Uchiha Xiao with very dexterous physical skills. Uchiha Xiao snorted coldly. It's all bells and whistles. As he said that, he stretched out his arm. Originally, second generation was still wondering, why are you reaching out without forming a seal? Do you plan to resist? However, the strange purple light in Uchiha Xiao's eyes made second generation feel a sense of crisis in his heart. Shinra Tenseng. Boom. A shock wave hit second generation at a very close distance. Bang. A burst of white debris exploded from second generation's body, and then the whole person flew backwards. Seeing second generation flying backwards, first generation subconsciously ran over and caught second generation. Are you okay, Tobirama? First generation asked hurriedly. Second generation lay in first generation's arms, looking at first generation's worried face, and said helplessly, "Brother, we are Impure world reincarnation now, unless it is sealed, nothing will happen." First generation instantly looked flustered. Yes, I know that too. I'm just testing you, Tobirama. He threw second generation to the ground. Second generation rubbed his head speechlessly, and then talked about the situation just now. The one just now seemed to be the Rinnegan. 17. First generation also returned to seriousness. Is that the repulsive force just now? Tell me in detail. Second generation's expression was solemn. It has no seal, instant cast, and strong attack power. If I hadn't been for the Impure world reincarnation, I would have been seriously injured just now. What a tricky ability. As he said this, first generation clasped his hands together, and 2 black stripes appeared on his face. Just now, first generation has not attacked, but let second generation go first. First, let second generation go to find out Uchiha Xiao's current ability, and second, let first generation absorb natural energy here. This is why it gives Sasuke and others the impression that first generation is fishing in CBCA. And now, first generation has entered Sage mode and is now on his home court. At this moment, Uchiha Xiao also walked out of the smoke screen. When they saw Uchiha Xiao, the 2 brothers were startled. I saw that Uchiha Xiao's face also had the same black stripes as first generation. Uchiha Xiao's face showed the same chuckle as always. ZZ Shion Jutsu is a good thing. Seeing Uchiha Xiao using his magic so confidently, first generation smiled instead of getting angry. As expected of you, Xiao, you are still as talented as before, making people jealous. Uchiha Xiao raised an eyebrow. Do you also have the emotion of jealousy? Yes, first generation admitted without hiding it. A hearty smile appeared on first generation's face. However, since I learned about your and Reina's ideals, all I have in my heart is admiration and friendship for you. You, like Madara, are my best friends. Uchiha Xiao has heard this kind of words too much. He turned to look at Tsunade. You see, your grandfather is such an arrogant man who likes to talk to himself, and. As he said that, Uchiha Xiao looked back at first generation, his eyes extremely cold. I told you, you are not qualified to mention Reina's name. After finishing speaking, before first generation could say anything, Uchiha Xiao clasped his hands together. Wood style. Seeing that the battle situation has developed to this situation, second generation also knew that he could not intervene. Seeing that Uchiha Xiao did not stop him, he came to Tsunade's side. Second generation. Tsunade didn't dare to look at second generation. She knew that second generation valued Konoha no less than her grandfather. Most of Konoha's current infrastructure and policies were founded by second generation. Tsunade, Uchiha Xiao's wood style and Rinnegan were all made with your help, right? Second generation recalled Orochimaru's words and asked Tsunade. There was still a trace of luck in his heart. Maybe the guy named Orochimaru was just talking nonsense. After all, Orochimaru didn't look like a good person. However, Tsunade's answer shattered the last chance of second generation. Well, Tsunade made a sound as small as a mosquito. Although the sound was small, the meaning was very clear. Tsunade admitted that she helped Uchiha Xiao obtain Rinnegan and wood style. Tsunade, you know my character. I'm not as easy to talk to as my elder brother. Now, I only say one sentence. After hearing these words, Tsunade had to look at second generation even if he didn't want to face it anymore. I saw second generation looking directly into Tsunade's eyes. Tsunade, your behavior has embarrassed me and my eldest brother. If you had been asked to commit suicide in the Sengoku era, do you understand? Listening to the second grandfather's words, Tsunade buried his head deeper and fell into deep self-blame. Chapter 149, Suzunata Senju. Please subscribe. Seeing Tsunade like this, second generation couldn't say anything and continued to watch the battle between his elder brother and Uchiha Xiao. Wood style drew several thousand hands. First generation put his hands together, and the next second, his feet shook, and the earth suddenly collapsed. First generation's figure quickly rose up. Under his feet was a huge guanyin. This guanyin was 1,000 meters high. The giant arms behind it were so densely packed that it made people feel chilly in their hearts. Come on, Xiao. First generation looked at Uchiha Xiao, with fighting intent in his eyes. Second generation crossed his arms and looked up at his elder brother's true several thousand hands with a proud expression on his face. Come on, Xiao, how can you imitate this technique of elder brother? Sasuke's Sharingan was almost bleeding from his eyes. If he could learn this technique, wouldn't sleeping with 9 tails be like a toy? Uchiha Xiao chuckled. If you want to humiliate yourself so much, then I will satisfy you. As he said that, he clasped his hands together. Wood style drew several thousand hands. Boom. The earth began to crack, and a Senju Guanyin identical to the first generation was summoned. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Second generation is unbelievable. This true several thousand hands is the elder brother's unique skill. Even if this guy has learned it, how can he achieve 100% restoration? Sasuke looked at this scene and felt even more excited. Coach, no, Xiao, I want to learn this. First generation was not angry, but instead smiled. As expected of you, Xiao. However, at this moment, first generation discovered that the chakra on Uchiha Xiao was far from over. Any other options? First generation is wary. Uchiha Xiao's expression was indifferent, and the chakra fluctuations on his body began to expand violently. The next second, an evil red light appeared on Uchiha Xiao's body. What? First generation's pupils shrank. Boom. The explosion of chakra caused a loud noise, and then the red light quickly enveloped True Several Thousand Hands. Susa. Nohu. True Several Thousand Hands' body leapt with flaming red light, followed by a huge skeleton, flesh and blood, and armor, which were generated in sequence and directly enveloped the entire Senju master at 60 degrees without blind spots. Guanyan's face, which was originally neither happy nor sad, now changed into a face as ferocious as a demon, looking very evil and scary. Susanna's coverage didn't even let go of the 1,000 huge arms at the back. Senju stood towering into the clouds, and its eerie red light even dyed the clouds red. This is no longer like a compassionate Guanyan, but rather like a great evil god sent down by God to destroy the world. If we say that the compassionate Bodhisattva statue is the portrayal of Senju Hashirama's peace-loving soul. This extremely evil ghost statue of Uchiha Xiao is the infinite extension of power and hatred in Uchiha Xiao's heart. First generation looked at the ghost statue of Uchiha Xiao with a hint of sadness on his face. Xiao, is this what's in your heart? Uchiha Xiao didn't reply, his face was as indifferent as usual. Second generation has a very ugly face. It can put the 1,000-meter-high True Several Thousand Hands on Susanoo. The amount of chakra consumed may not even be able to withstand it. He knew how much Uchiha Xiao was hostile to Konoha. If Uchiha Xiao's True Several Thousand Hands came to Konoha, how much damage would it cause? Sasuke looked up at the two giant Buddhas and swallowed his saliva. Uchiha Xiao was like a strange man with many treasures. Every time he took action, he would have new methods and stronger power. Sasuke had some hope before, thinking that he would definitely be able to catch up with Uchiha Xiao in terms of strength in the future. Now it seems that not to mention catching up, even 1/5 of Uchiha Xiao's strength is very rare. Thousands of meters high in the sky, the howling wind blew Uchiha Xiao's hair scattered, and her scarlet eyes were looming. Looking at first generation's face, Uchiha Xiao slowly said, Hashirama, how does it compare to your True Several Thousand Hands? First generation is very frank. I really can't compare to you, but I will try my best. First generation shouted loudly, and then the True Several Thousand Hands on the soles of its feet began to attack. Become a Buddha on top. Rumble. Because of its huge size, if the giant Buddha moves even slightly, it will cause a huge noise. Thousands of huge wooden arms began to move, aiming at Uchiha Xiao's giant Buddha. Hu. There were bursts of noise, and the giant hands cut through the air and roared towards Uchiha Lian's Senju. Boom. Each punch of True Several Thousand Hands was like the damage caused by thousands of detonating talismans. Thousands of fists hit Uchiha Xiao's True Several Thousand Hands, causing a huge explosion in an instant. Bursts of rumbles resounded through the clouds, and those who didn't know thought it was thunder. All the wooden hands were smashed on the enemy, but first generation's face was still very serious, because from the feedback sent to him by Senju, he felt that the attack of True Several Thousand Hands did not seem to have much effect. Please give me flowers. Sure enough, in the next second, the smoke slowly dispersed, and wisps of red light were revealed in the smoke. Although I knew the result was not ideal, when first generation saw it, I still felt a great sense of powerlessness in my heart. I saw that Uchiha Xiao's Susanoo had a lot of cracks, and the red light was slightly dimmed, but that's all. The first generation's attack didn't even hurt the Senju under Susan. The second generation's eyes widened. He was in disbelief. You must know that the eldest brother's True Several Thousand Hands can even break a 1,000-meter high mountain range, now even Uchiha Xiao's Susanoo shell cannot be broken. Looking at Uchiha Xiao, first generation forced a smile. Xiao, you are the only person who can make me feel so frustrated. 0. Uchiha Xiao's expression was indifferent, and his cold voice floated through the howling cold wind. Hashirama, your level is destined to only reach this point. As he spoke, Toyoshi Xiao clapped his hands. Become a Buddha on top. The red Guanyan's eyes widened in anger, and the 1,000 arms behind her leapt with red light, and they smashed hard at Hashirama's True Several Thousand Hands. In an instant, red light and explosions bloomed on first generation's True Several Thousand Hands. Soon, under the huge impact, first generation's Shinsu began to play medicine. Soon, the True Several Thousand Hands under first generation's feet began to crack, and huge pieces of wood continued to peel off and fall to the ground. First generation put his hands together and sent chakra to his feet, trying to stabilize his body as quickly as possible. However, at this time, Uchiha Xiao's heavy Senju was seen touching his belly. First generation thought of something for a moment, and then his pupils shrank. Impossible. I saw a dazzling light flashing, and true several thousand hands held a long flaming knife in his hand. This sword is 700 to 800 meters long, and it is exactly the super giant version of the Onikiri. Seeing true several thousand hands raising the Onikiri in his hand high, the sun and the moon were eclipsed for a moment. Seeing this situation, second generation immediately shouted, "Tsunade! Hurry and retreat!" At this time, Tsunade was in a trance. After hearing the reminder from the second grandfather, he quickly jumped back as if he had just woken up from a dream. The second generation is not afraid because of Impure World Reincarnation's body. He must be ready to respond to the first generation at any time in case the first generation is suddenly sealed by Uchiha Xiao. Jung. A harsh sword cry came from high in the sky, and the sharp sound made Sasuke and Tsunade cover their ears, while the second generation frowned and looked up at the battle captain in the sky. Chapter 150. Super Planetary Devastation. Please subscribe. The huge power of Onikiri rubbed against the air, instantly sparking a burst of flames that wrapped around Onikiri. First generation was not afraid of this sharp blow, but instead controlled true several thousand hands to face it. Boom. Fire and red light bloomed instantly on first generation's true several thousand hands. At that moment, it was like another sun appeared in the sky. The flames seemed to be tainted with Susanoo's aura, turning extremely red. The flames exploded on Senju's body and turned into a pool of flowing fire, which instantly splashed out in all directions. From a distance, it looks like a huge spark. Boom. Soon, under this powerful and heavy blow, true several thousand hands' compassionate face was split from the middle by Uchiha Xiao's Onikiri. Then, Onikiri's attack was very smooth, and the sharp sword cut down with devastating speed. The huge 1,000-meter Guanyin statue was cut open from the middle with a knife. 490. Sasuke's mouth opened wide, and he even forgot to remove his hands covering his ears. Is this the battle at the top of the ninja world? Can I, Uchiha Sasuke, really reach this level? Although his strength has reached beyond cage level, he is still like a genin in the battle against Uchiha Xiao in first generation. He could only watch, helpless and hesitant. First generation's true several thousand hands was split in the middle by Uchiha Xiao. Uchiha Xiao stretched and then untied true several thousand hands and Susanoo. He fell from 1,000 meters altitude and calmly looked at a place where the smoke had not dispersed. I saw a wooden shield with fangs and a grimace lying on the ground. The shield was cracked all over, as if another light blow could break it into pieces. Wood Expulsion Jutsu. Uchiha Xiao murmured. Wood Expulsion Jutsu is the first generation's defensive weapon. It can remain motionless under the attack of 9 tails with Susan on it. It can be said that it is his absolute defense. But now, he can only bear Uchiha Xiao's sword attack. The shield split in the middle, and the first generation's figure walked out of it. The second generation also ran over. He came to the first generation and asked in a low voice, "How is it?" First generation exclaimed, "Such strength, even if I return to my prime, I still can't beat him." First generation's voice was unequivocal and unquestionable. Obviously, the distance gap between first generation and Uchiha Xiao has widened now. In fact, even if first generation does not say it, second generation can also see that the strength displayed by Uchiha Xiao is even more terrifying than before. At this time, Uchiha Lian's figure appeared not far away. Second generation stood up and the chakra in his body began to mobilize. It is better to be proactive than to be passive defensive. Water style water horn. Second generation spit out a trumpet-shaped water style, and Uchiha Xiao dodged the water style lightly. However, second generation did not intend to use this technique to attack Uchiha Xiao. He just wanted to use this technique to create an environment with water. Ha! Second generation stood on the water and quickly formed seals with his hands. Water style water cut. Second generation uses ultimate control of water style to move at high speeds on the water. Second generation speed was very fast, and he was in front of Uchiha Xiao in a blink of an eye. Water style water blade slash. These 3 moves, water style and attack, are all done in one go. An ordinary Jonin or even a cage level would be in a hurry when encountering this move. Uchiha Xiao raised the corners of his mouth slightly and stretched out his hand. In an instant, purple thunder and lightning appeared on his hand. Purple lightning. Another instant. Second generation was very surprised. This Uchiha Xiao really has too many weird tricks. Facing second generation's water blade slash, Uchiha Xiao held the purple lightning and swatted second generation's water blade away very forcefully, and then the purple lightning quickly slashed second generation's abdomen. Whoosh! A burst of white debris flew into the sky, and second generation looked at him in surprise, only to see that his body was cut in half by Uchiha Xiao's purple electricity. The broken second generation fell to the ground. Seeing this, Uchiha Xiao also pursued the victory and quickly formed seals with his hands. 4 symbols seal. Chakra quickly gathered in Uchiha Xiao's hand, and then he reached out to the second generation on the ground. The second generation's pupils shrank, and then with a thought, he activated Flying Thunder God and returned to the first generation. Uchiha Xiao looked at the cautious second generation and said sarcastically, "My strength is not that good, but I can escape pretty quickly." Second generation frowned after hearing this. What an arrogant Uchiha. A black stick appeared in Uchiha Xiao's hand. Whatever you say, if you don't come, I will. The second generation also took out a kunai and put his hands into a posture. At this moment, the first generation suddenly raised his hand. Stop, stop, stop. Second generation said nervously, brother, what are you going to do? I saw first generation looking at Uchiha Xiao and said, we came here today just to say hello to you and take a look at the outline. Now that the purpose has been achieved. Then. He looked towards second generation. Tobirama, let's go. First generation shook his head, looking very cool, and those who didn't know thought he had won the battle just now. Seeing the appearance of first generation, Uchiha Xiao was also a little speechless. First generation's character was really too out of touch. When they were friends, he often complained about first generation. At this time, first generation said again, however, I will definitely stop you next time we meet. Uchiha Xiao sighed. Do you think I will let you go like this? Uchiha Xiao looked at the two Senju brothers, although his strength could indeed defeat the two brothers easily. But I can't bear it. These two brothers still have some strength. They can fight and escape. Although the two brothers can't hit him, they can disgust him. From time to time, the flying thunder god would come and throw a detonating charm, and from time to time, he would throw out a wooden dragon to harass him, which would make Uchiha Xiao sick. So in order to prevent this from happening, Uchiha Xiao thought it would be better to seal the two brothers here. After saying that, the scarlet in Uchiha Xiao's eyes turned into an eerie purple. Is it Rinnegan again? First generation and second generation became wary. After all, they didn't know much about Rinnegan. If one of Rinnegan's abilities was sealed, wouldn't it be over? Super planetary devastation. Uchiha Xiao stretched out his hand and 10 shiny balls flew towards Wei Kong. The next second, the ground began to shake, and then cracked, and the small ball exploded with extremely powerful suction. 5.1. Not good. The two of them also felt the suction. They tried their best to escape, but the attraction was so strong that they couldn't even take a step forward. Countless gravels and boulders began to converge towards the small ball, and even a lot of gravel scattered the two people's dirty earth shots. The second generation reached out. Brother. Grab my hand. The second generation reached out to the first generation, and he wanted to use the flying thunder god to escape from here, but at this moment. Uchiha Xiao took out another small ball, the second one. Buzz. Another huge suction force came, and the figure of second generation couldn't stop falling backwards. Seeing that he was getting further and further away from his elder brother, he felt anxious in his heart. Tsunade looked at this scene and fell into an infinite struggle in her heart. Should she help her grandfather and second grandfather? Then, she looked at the high-spirited Uchiha Xiao, and for some reason, her heart calmed down again. Chapter 151. Uchiha Madara. Not enough. Please subscribe. In the end, first generation and second generation ran away. First generation used wood style to tie up second generation. Then second generation quickly used Flying Thunder God, and the two disappeared in an instant. Shout, Flying Thunder God, what an annoying thing. Uchiha Xiao complained, and then he checked his body with chakra to prevent something like Obito from happening. The Flying Thunder God technique on Obito's back has not been discovered for more than 10 years. As a result, in the fourth battle, he received a Rasengan from Minato. Sasuke looked at the two strange and huge stone balls in the sky, feeling horrified. Is this a battle between top experts? Although Sasuke has sighed this countless times in his heart, at this moment, he still wants to say it. Every time when he thought that this was all Uchiha Xiao's strength, Uchiha Xiao would take out a more powerful power crystal and slap it in the face. Sasuke looked at Uchiha Xiao with fearful eyes. How much strength does this guy have yet to show? On the other side, inside the Akatsuki base, the figures of first generation and second generation suddenly appeared here. The second generation had previously marked the Flying Thunder God here. Orochimaru and Obito were surprised at first, but when they saw it was first generation and second generation, they became confused at the same time. Orochimaru looked at the two of them curiously. How is it? Are there any side effects of this body? What is Uchiha Xiao's strength? It doesn't work. Physical strength and chakra are unlimited, but I can feel that compared to my peak strength, there is still a little gap. Second generation squeezed his hands and said. First generation also lost the antics at the Xiao base at the beginning, and said with a serious face, Xiao's strength is very terrifying. Even if I go back to the peak period of my life, I can't compare to him. Orochimaru and Obito looked at each other and saw surprise in each other's eyes. Then Orochimaru said politely, can you two adults please explain in detail? First generation did not refuse and directly told all the details of the battle. After listening, Orochimaru's inner surprise could not dissipate for a long time. I thought that as long as the god of ninja appeared, even if he was defeated, plus a second Hokage, he would be able to compete no matter what. Unexpectedly, he was easily controlled by Uchiha Xiao, and according to first generation, Uchiha Xiao did not use his full strength at all, and it seemed that there were still some tricks that he had not used. Obito did not express his opinion. Under the cover of the mask, no one knew what Obito was thinking. Orochimaru hesitated for a moment, and then said, "You too, wait for me." As he said that, Orochimaru clapped his hands on the ground, and saw a coffin rising from the ground. Second generation saw Orochimaru making another coffin and frowned. Orochimaru, no matter how many impure world reincarnations it will be in vain. Uchiha Xiao's strength can no longer be compensated by sheer quantity. However, Orochimaru showed a strange smile. "No, Master Second Hokage, this one is also an old acquaintance of yours." Old acquaintance. Before first generation and second generation could think about it, the material suddenly fell. Bang! Among the dust, a man in red armor was vaguely seen standing inside. This is it. First generation's pupils shrank, and second generation's expression also became grim. Orochimaru's sinister voice sounded again. Plus what he said, what will happen to Uchiha Xiao? Lying inside was the reincarnation of Indra from the previous generation, Uchiha Madara. First generation and second generation looked at Orochimaru. They didn't expect that Orochimaru still had this hand. Second generation narrowed his eyes slightly and exuded a faint murderous aura. "Orochimaru, if you dare to impure world reincarnation him, then I will kill you without hesitation." Orochimaru was not frightened by this murderous intent. "Ha ha ha, are you too confident that you can defeat Uchiha Xiao?" Second generation said. "Although Uchiha Madara's strength is also good, you must also consider how troublesome Uchiha Madara is. In terms of making trouble, Uchiha Madara is no less than Uchiha Xiao, and..." Second generation paused for a moment, with a rare emotion of fear in his eyes, "and both of them are Uchiha. If the two of them join forces, the ninja world will really have no way to resist them. Originally, the ninja world is already in chaos with Uchiha Xiao, but if Uchiha Madara's second generation is added to the mix, I can't imagine what will happen." However, at this moment, Obito spoke. "Madara will definitely regard Uchiha Xiao as an enemy." The two looked at Obito in confusion. "Why are you so sure?" "You ask why, because I lived with him for a while. When that guy Madara was old, except for Project Tsuki no Mi and Senju Hashirama, all he talked about was Uchiha Xiao. And he didn't say many good words, almost all of them were scolding Uchiha Xiao. It's easy to imagine that the relationship between the two is not very good." Obito did not speak, but he was thinking in his heart that he must resurrect Uchiha Madara so that he could know the whereabouts of the other Rinnegan. Seeing that Obito was silent, the first generation and the second generation were used to Obito's boring personality. The first generation asked, "Where are the monkeys and the fourth generation?" Orochimaru responded, "They went back to the village." Hearing Orochimaru's answer, first generation's eyes lit up. "Tobarama. Let's go back to the village and have a look. We don't know what the village has developed into now." The second generation looked at the excitement on the first generation's face, sighed slightly, and nodded. "Let's go back and have a look." When the second generation agreed, the first generation cheered and immediately put its arms around the second generation's shoulders. "It must be Tobarama who treats me the best." Second generation looked a little numb. "Oh, it's just the calm before the storm. Before the war, let's take a look at the village." Then, the first generation ran happily towards Konoha, while the second generation followed obediently behind him. Orochimaru sneered. "As long as Uchiha Madara impure world reincarnation, we can see the peak showdown between the two Uchiha. I'm really looking forward to it." Watching first generation and the two people leaving, Orochimaru said, "Although we can't completely control the two of them, as long as these two people can contain Uchiha Xiao, it will be enough." After saying that, Orochimaru looked at Obito with his yellow-orange eyes. Obito didn't know what he was thinking, and he finally spoke after a long while. "Prepare the chess pieces and wait for my orders. We don't need to participate when the fourth battle begins. We only need to wait until both sides are hurt, and then we can start our actions." Listening to Obito's unmistakable voice, Snake G let out a sigh of relief. Obito looked at Orochimaru with a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. Orochimaru's lion majesty eyes glanced at Obito. "Obito, I am not your subordinate." Obito said nonchalantly. "So what, our purpose is the same, both to defeat Uchiha Xiao, and..." As he spoke, Obito paused, and his bright red eyes looked directly into Orochimaru's eyes. "I have Sharingan, and I have the ability to control everything, do you understand?" Chapter 152. Uchiha Xiao wants to occupy Tsunade. Please subscribe. Right in front. Shizune sat on the back of the eagle, and the eagle gasped and said, "Yes, right in front." Although this eagle is undoubtedly majestic, it is still a bit difficult for it to carry an adult. After all, it is just an intelligence eagle. The eagle was not slow and quickly brought her into a village. The eagle brought Shizune to a mansion and flew away. "Tsunade-sama, are you inside?" Walking into the magnificent mansion, a familiar figure appeared in front of Jingji. "Tsunade-sama." When Tsunade heard the shouting, his body trembled first, and then his head tilted slightly. "Oh, are you coming?" Shizune paused for a moment, then walked to Tsunade's side. "Tsunade-sama, I passed." However, Tsunade did not speak, but was busy with something with his hands. Seeing that Tsunade didn't speak, Shizune said, "Tsunade-sama, why did you choose to follow this Uchiha Xiao? Are you being blackmailed? Tsunade stopped what she was doing. No, I voluntarily follow Uchiha Xiao. After saying that, she looked at Shizune with a complicated look. Shizune, you don't need to follow Uchiha Xiao, Tsunade said. Hearing Tsunade's words, Shizune was a little confused. Didn't you write to me to make your choice? Tsunade has a loud voice, which is why her eyes are complicated. On the one hand, she doesn't want Shizune to bear the reputation of being a traitor. She wants Shizune to return to Konoha and her hometown, which is equivalent to Tsunade's apology and compensation to the village. But, on the other hand, after many days of getting along, Tsunade also believed that Uchiha Xiao could rule the ninja world. By then, if Shizune is still a ninja in Konoha, she will most likely die in the war 3 months later, and Nasho really doesn't want to see the death of his disciple. So under this entanglement, Tsunade adopted the awkward method of writing a letter to give Shizune 2 choices, and now, Shizune chose to follow. Tsunade didn't know whether she should be happy or worried, so her heart was very complicated. Shizune looked at Tsunade for a while, and then it became clear what he was thinking about Tsunade. Shizune's eyes filled with tears, and she hugged Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, I know, I understand what you are thinking, thank you Tsunade-sama, I will accompany you, I will not let you stay alone here. Pipe pipe. Shizune has been following Tsunade for many years. He quickly guessed what Tsunade was thinking. Hearing Shizune's words, Tsunade couldn't help but shed tears. Although she was isolated from the world at the base these days, she still knew a lot about the ninja world's evaluation of her. Coupled with her second grandfather's scolding and Jiraiya's disappointment, all these incomprehensible emotions weighed on her, and she felt like she couldn't breathe these days. Now that Shizune said he understood her, Tsunade couldn't help but shed tears like a little girl, even though she was already in her 50s. Finally someone can understand her. Suddenly, the whole room was filled with sad air. At this moment, a voice broke the sad atmosphere. What a touching scene. When the voice sounded, Shizune turned around first and cautiously took out a kunai and faced Uchiha Xiao. Shizune. At this time, Tsunade reached out and pressed Shizune's kunai. Shizune then remembered that she was now on the same boat as Uchiha. Tsunade wiped her tears and then refuted Uchiha Xiao's words. When you resurrect your sister, I'm afraid you won't perform any better than us. As soon as Tsunade's words came out, Uchiha Xiao showed no expression, but Shizune was surprised. How come Tsunade can still talk to Uchiha Xiao like this? And this Uchiha Xiao is not angry yet. What happened in those days when I was away? Even though there were all kinds of doubts in his heart, Shizune still didn't say anything because Uchiha Xiao's evil image was too deep before. He might as well ask Tsunade-sama later. At this time, Uchiha Xiao suddenly stretched out a finger. I have a good proposal. Tsunade frowned. What's a good suggestion? Looking at Uchiha Xiao's expression, she always felt that Uchiha Xiao was thinking of something rude. Uchiha Xiao's next words confirmed what Tsunade was thinking. I saw the corners of Uchiha Xiao's mouth raised slightly, as if he remembered something interesting, and he gently moved his waist forward. Your second grandfather Tobirama hates the Uchiha clan very much. If you tell him that the princess of the Senju clan has been defiled by me, the most evil Uchiha, what do you think his expression will be like? When Tsunade heard Uchiha Xiao's words, she was suddenly startled, a blush flew to her cheeks, and she took 2 steps back. What did you say? At the same time, Tsunade was also cursing Uchiha Xiao in his heart. What on earth is this shameless person thinking? Shizune immediately picked up the kunai he had just put back. What are you going to do to Tsunade-sama? Shizune felt a little regretful at this time. If Tsunade was treated like that, then she, Shizune, wouldn't be a vassal. Thinking of this, Shizune's face turned slightly red. Although, this Uchiha Xiao looks really good. Uchiha Xiao was a little confused. Originally, she just wanted to tease Tsunade, but why did this little girl named Shizune blush? Uchiha Xiao straightened his waist. Haha, don't worry, it's just a joke. I won't do any of this until I achieve my goal. At this time, Shizune and Tsunade discovered that there were no evil thoughts in Uchiha Xiao's eyes, but only teasing intentions. Shizune also breathed a sigh of relief and took the kunai back. Hearing Uchiha Xiao's words, Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief. After all, with Uchiha Xiao's strength, if she really wanted to do something, she really couldn't resist. But for some reason, Tsunade felt a vague feeling of emptiness in her heart, and then she thought of Uchiha Xiao's clear and teasing eyes just now. When you see me Tsunade, do you Uchiha Xiao really have no idea? Just when Tsunade was in confusion, Shizune, who was still frightened, patted Tsunami. Tsunade-sama, this guy is not only dangerous, but also so moody. Why do you follow him actively? Let's find a chance to run away. When Tsunade was confused, he said subconsciously without thinking, Uchiha Xiao is much better than the world thinks. As he said that, Tsunade thought of Uchiha Xiao's gentle eyes and smile every time he talked about Uchiha Reina. At this moment, Tsunade suddenly woke up. Did I just say something to Shizune? Hi. After many years of getting along, Tsunade knows that this little girl Shizune is not as honest as she seems on the outside, but is very active on the inside. When this girl heard what she just said, she might think of something else. She quickly looked at Shizune, And sure enough, Shizune was staring with big eyes, full of disbelief and an inexplicable light. Seeing Shizune's expression, Tsunade quickly held her forehead, knowing that Shizune must have misunderstood something. The next second, Pisho spoke. Tsunade-sama, when did you fall in love with Mr. Uchiha Xiao? Chapter 153. Hello, Otsutsuki Hagoromo. Please subscribe. Tsunade almost vomited blood. How did you know that I liked it? And, who the hell is Mr. Uchiha Xiao? Tsunade waved his hands quickly and hurriedly denied. What are you talking about? I don't like that guy at all. Stop quibbling, Tsunade-sama. At this time, Shizune was seen covering her mouth and whispering with a smile. Tsunade-sama, do you know what the suspension bridge effect is? Listening to Shizune's tone, although Tsunade didn't know what it meant, he definitely knew that it was not a good word. Tsunade looked at Shizune warily and said angrily, which second-rate medical journal did you read this again? Shizune stretched out his finger. No, Tsunade-sama, the suspension bridge effect refers to the fact that when a person is crossing the suspension bridge with fear, his heartbeat will speed up involuntarily, and if he suddenly happens to bump into someone at this time, then this person will mistake this heartbeat for the feeling of heartbeat. This is the suspension bridge effect, and under this effect, Lord Tsunade's hatred subtly turns into love. Shizune said matter-of-factly. Listening to Shizune's words, Tsunade fell into memories. It seemed that sometimes, when his heartbeat was racing, Uchiha Xiao happened to appear. At this moment, Tsunade noticed Shizune's eyes again and looked over. Sure enough, Shizune looked at her with that look again. Shizune, it seems I haven't taught you a lesson for a long time. Tsunade blushed slightly and rolled up his sleeves. Tsunade-sama, I don't want it. After fighting for a while, Tsunade felt a little worried again, worried about the Fourth Ninja War. As a doctor, Tsunade instinctively hates war, but she also knows that the battle in 3 months will be the one that can determine the pattern of the ninja world. Originally, she had no doubt that Uchiha Xiao could unify the ninja world, but after seeing Grandpa and Second Grandpa's Impure World Reincarnation today, she became uncertain again. Impure World Reincarnation, only that guy Orochimaru can create it. Since he can create first generation and second generation, then he must be third generation, fourth generation, or even Jiraiya. Thinking of Jiraiya, Tsunade's originally happy mood suddenly fell silent. She scratched her head, and then her eyes gradually became determined again. Now that you have decided to stay here, don't think too much. Soon, the time came 2 months later. At this time, a month had passed since the establishment of the Ninja Alliance. The conflicts that Onoki originally envisioned among the ninja villages would still exist at the beginning, and even escalated to battles. But later on, Ninja Village deliberately publicized how terrifying CBDF Uchiha Xiao's strength was, and even circulated photos of Uchiha Xiao and Senju in the military. This effect was immediate, and the conflicts between the ninja coalition were temporarily put aside. At this moment, everyone is a comrade, and we must fight together against the common enemy of the entire ninja world, Uchiha Xiao. Under this circumstance, the ninja world has entered an unprecedented unity, everyone is making preparations intensively, and supplies are constantly being mobilized. There is still a month left before the war. The coalition forces have already carried out large-scale operations and set up camp on the battlefield. Now Song needs to wait for Shozibo Lien to arrive. In Konoha village, Minato is already living with Naruto. These days, Naruto lived a very fulfilling life, not only with his father's company, but also with daily practice, and even the food cooked by his father was very delicious. It is no exaggeration to say that these 2 months have been the happiest months since Naruto was born. After dinner, Minato washed his wrists, only to find Naruto looking gloomy. Naruto, what's wrong? Minato asked concerned. Naruto looked solemn. Dad, the power of 6 paths in me is gradually disappearing. I'm afraid that in a month, I won't be able to beat that guy Zibo Xiao. Minato wiped his hands dry. This question was really out of line. Minato couldn't give him any advice. He could only touch Naruto's head. Naruto, you just have to do your best. Naruto's power is gradually disappearing. Only the top management of Konoha and a few other Four Shadows know this. Once this kind of thing comes out, it will definitely shake the morale of the military. Dad will be with you, as well as third generation Sama, Kakashi, and everyone else. After being comforted, Naruto regained his momentum a little, and then shouted, Yoshi. Then I will speed up my training. Give Uchiha Xiao a good beating. Seeing Naruto regaining his strength so quickly, Minato couldn't help but smile fondly, but soon, he became worried about the war in a month's time. Although the first Hokage and the second Hokage are back, and it is said that Orochimaru Senpai still has many powerful ninjas, but in front of Uchiha Xiao, I'm afraid they are just numbers. The fourth ninja war a month later is not optimistic. Thinking this, Minato subconsciously put his hand into his clothes, and then took out a book. The cover of the book reads, The Story of Strong Perseverance and Forbearance. This book is the first one written by Jiraiya. Putting the book against his forehead, Minato said quietly in his heart, Teacher Jiraiya, strength and perseverance, I hope it can really bring light. What the two of them didn't know was that Uchiha Xiao had disappeared and was staying on the roof of a nearby house. Uchiha Xiao's perception ability was very powerful, and even Minato couldn't detect it when he detected it. There is no doubt that Uchiha Xiao also sensed Naruto. He found that Naruto's chakra and chakra activity were not as strong as 2 months ago. Obviously, Naruto's strength is constantly declining. 1 month later, even if Naruto's power of 6 paths does not dissipate, his strength is far less than it was 2 months ago. Perceiving this, Uchiha Xiao felt a little happier. After all, Naruto was indeed very difficult to deal with. He was not only the child of destiny, but also the reincarnation of Ashura. If Naruto's 6 paths power can be maintained, Uchiha Lien will definitely have a fierce battle. The corners of Uchiha Xiao's mouth slowly curved, and he murmured, "Uzumaki Naruto, just enjoy this last happy time." After saying that, Uchiha Xiao was about to turn around and leave. At this time, he was shocked to find that the scene in Konoha village just now disappeared, and everything around him turned into endless darkness. There was only a little light shining around him, so Uchiha Xiao did not panic. He tried to disrupt the chakra of his body to unlock the illusion, but it had no effect. Doesn't it seem like an illusion? Interesting. Uchiha Xiao's eyes showed interest. At this moment, an old and powerful voice suddenly came from behind Uchiha Xiao. Uchiha Xiao, hello. Uchiha Xiao turned around and saw an old man wearing white clothes. The old man had 2 slightly protruding horns on his forehead, and his eyes were purple Rinnegan. He crossed his legs and floated about 20 centimeters above the ground, and there were black truth-seeking balls hovering around him. Uchiha Xiao narrowed his eyes slightly, and he felt a sense of crisis from those truth-seeking balls. Uchiha Xiao couldn't help but smile. After all, he hadn't felt like this for a long time. Sure enough, you do know something, Uchiha Xiao. Seeing Uchiha Xiao's indifferent expression, Sage of 6 Paths showed a look of understanding. If you didn't know something, you would never open Rinnegan yourself. Uchiha Xiao grinned, showing her white teeth. Should I call you Sage of 6 Paths, or Otsutsuki Hagoromo? Chapter 154. Sage of 6 Paths. No way. Please subscribe. Hearing Uchiha Xiao's words, Sage of 6 Paths, who had always been indifferent to the world, couldn't help but look surprised at this moment. After being stunned for a while, Sage of 6 Paths said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, it seems you know a lot, but I underestimate you." Uchiha Xiao did not speak, but looked at Sage of 6 Paths quietly, wanting to see what Sage of 6 Paths could say. After laughing, Sage of 6 Paths said, "Uchiha Xiao, you are very powerful, your talent even exceeds that of my brother. You can open the Rinnegan without Ashura's bloodline, your Rinnegan is very special." Uchiha Xiao did not ask him curiously why he was special as Sage of 6 Paths expected. Uchiha Xiao went around the topic and directly sarcastically addressed Sage of 6 Paths. "Hagoromo, the power you lent to Uzumaki Naruto is almost gone, isn't it? When Naruto's power of 6 Paths disappears, the ninja world will cease to exist." After a pause, Uchiha Xiao continued, "Already, no one can stop me, you can be resurrected." Sage of 6 Paths had no feeling at all about Uchiha Xiao's impolite address. He sighed and said, "Then you can rest assured that I cannot be resurrected. Not even Rinne Tensai can revive me." Sage of 6 Paths thought for a while and asked, "Uchiha Xiao, what is your purpose? Do you want to unify the ninja world?" Sage of 6 Paths has been wandering the ninja world as a ghost since his death, so it's no surprise to Uchiha Xiao that Sage of 6 Paths knew about his dream. Uchiha Xiao looked up at the dark sky. Yes, if you want to achieve true peace, this is the only way to eliminate all possible chaos with absolute power. Sage of 6 Paths looks at Uchiha Xiao. Uchiha Xiao's opinions and actions are actually very similar to Otsutsuki Kagaya. Sage of 6 Paths said, "Let me tell you a story." Uchiha Xiao said boredly, "Okay, it just so happens that I'm not in a hurry either." Sage of 6 Paths spoke, "Do you know the goddess of Mao?" Uchiha Xiao glanced at Sage of 6 Paths strangely. "I know, your mother." Sage of 6 Paths. Why did he feel that Uchiha Xiao's words were strange? Regardless of that, Sage of 6 Paths continued to speak. "Yes, Otsutsuki Kagaya is my mother. She was the first founder of order in the ninja world. At that time, the chakra of the ninja world was highly concentrated on Toru Yoruichi. Kagaya also served as a dictator and ruled the entire ninja world with her strength." As he said that, he looked at Uchiha Xiao. "Yes, my mother had the same idea as you, but do you know what the result was? People complained, and my brother and I also sealed her in the moon." Uchiha Xiao raised his eyebrows. This Hagoromo wanted to talk to him, but unfortunately the mouth escape was the most useless to him. Besides, he knows what the plot of Hokage is like. "Hagoromo, it's okay for you to deceive a child like Uzumaki Naruto with your words, but for me, don't use such a clumsy trick." Uchiha Xiao played with her nails boredly. Sage of 6 Paths said, "So, what do you think?" I saw Uchiha Xiao continue to say, "Kagaya was overthrown not because of the unification of the ninja world. On the contrary, the unification of the ninja world satisfied the thorns of the fragile ninja world at that time and conformed to the historical trend of the people of the ninja world pursuing peace." Sage of 6 Paths did not speak. Obviously, he himself knew that Kagaya's move actually had a positive effect on the ninja world. The real reason why she was overthrown was because she let the sacred tree absorb people's souls to create a large amount of white zetsu. For this reason, the people were dissatisfied with her rule. Her two filial sons also sealed her away. Get up. Uchiha Xiao can also talk, stating the facts while also sarcastic about Sage of Six Paths. Sage of Six Paths said, I didn't expect you to even know this. It seems that I really underestimate you. Seeing that the lie was exposed, Sage of Six Paths did not blush at all. Over thousands of years, his face has become as thick as the Great Wall. Uchiha Xiao felt very bored at this time. Do you have anything else to say? If you want to persuade me to give up my ambition, then I refuse, and I know more about the secrets of this ninja world than you do. Sage of Six Paths frowned. Originally, he thought Uchiha Xiao was just a talented person with shitty luck. Unexpectedly, this person had many secrets. Sage of Six Paths did not continue talking about this, but changed the topic. Uchiha Xiao, don't underestimate Uzumaki Naruto and the ninjas. Once they unite, they can break out into a terrifying force. Uchiha Xiao waved his hand. Just sit in your special seat, watch the last performance presented to you by the ninja world, and play the last song. Uchiha Xiao knows that Naruto's power can only be borrowed from the Sage of Six Paths once. As long as Naruto loses the power of Six Paths, the ninjas also lose their ultimate weapon, the tailed beast. Please give me flowers. Who else in the entire ninja world can fight with him? Who else can stop him? Sage of Six Paths sighed. This conversation was indeed a failure for him. Even so, he did not have many regrets in his heart. After all, he had died long ago, and now he was just a wandering spirit, or even just a passerby. He could only watch with cold eyes the changes in the structure of the ninja world. Sage of Six Paths looked at Uchiha Xiao's pair of Rinnegan. Finally, he raised his head slightly. Since you said you know everything, do you want to know about your eyes? Finally, in this long series of conversations, Uchiha Xiao heard the only useful thing. In the past 2 months, what Uchiha Xiao spent the most time on was studying his own Rinnegan. After all, he could feel that Rinnegan still had a lot of room for improvement. Uchiha Xiao nodded. Seeing that there was finally something that Uchiha Xiao didn't know about, Sage of Six Paths breathed a sigh of relief. Sage of Six Paths said, your eyes have a special power very similar to the eyes on your mother's forehead. Kagaya, it seems that my eyes are related to the Otsutsuki clan outside the earth. Uchiha Xiao looked at Sage of Six Paths. As long as you eat the fruit of the sacred tree, all the secrets and mists will be invisible. Before Sage of Six Paths could say anything, Uchiha Xiao waved his hand, and then walked out of Sage of Six Paths' spiritual space independently. In the spiritual space, Uchiha Xiao's voice seemed to still be echoing. Sage of Six Paths looked up, feeling infinite melancholy in his heart. If Uchiha Xiao is allowed to eat the sacred tree, then Uchiha Xiao's strength may become as terrifying as Kagaya's. However, Kagaya was sealed because the brothers Hagoromo and Hamura were strong, but in the current ninja world, there is no one as powerful as the two Aka brothers. Originally, Uzumaki Naruto barely had the power of Six Paths, but for some reason, Uchiha Xiao actually knew that Naruto's power could fade, and managed to survive for 2 months. So much so that now Naruto's Six Paths power has greatly regressed, and it won't be long before it completely dissipates. By then, Sage of Six Paths was speechless, and all his thoughts turned into a lament. Ninja, you are so in trouble. Chapter 155. Government. Please subscribe. Uchiha Xiao came out of the spiritual space and immediately walked to the village. He had no fluctuation in his heart about seeing Sage of Six Paths. He was just a filial son with no strength and nothing to be afraid of. Uchiha Xiao's figure shuttled between the woods. When he was about to return to the village, a chakra fluctuation suddenly came from not far away. It's in the direction of the village gate. Uchiha Xiao felt a little bored. Does this Orochimaru have nothing to do? He keeps sending Impure world reincarnation. However, when Uchiha Xiao hid in the dark and took a look, he saw that the person who came was not Impure world reincarnation, but a gentleman in official uniform. He was accompanied by 2 warriors in armor. Those chakra fluctuations were transmitted from the 2 warriors, and the chakra fluctuations that were transmitted were only at the level of Chunin. Officials and samurai. Uchiha Xiao began to think about it. He thought that he had not attacked the vassal states recently, so how could there be officials coming after 057? Then the next scene made Uchiha Xiao understand. The officials and warriors faced a group of villagers. The official looked at the village chief and waved his whip arrogantly. Hey, you are the village chief, right? Tell me, why don't you pay money or food? The official spoke sternly, and the long whip in his hand kept hitting the village chief's face. However, the village chief could only say timidly, Official, Mr. Official, you have collected too much. We really have no money or food. A group of villagers behind also shouted. Yes. I can't open the pot anymore in my house. Please ask the official to be accommodating. When the official heard this, his beard almost stood up. How dare these unscrupulous people challenge him? Snapped. The long whip in the official's hand was swung at a villager who shouted the loudest. The villager fell to the ground with a long red mark on his face. This time, all the villagers were silenced. After all, no one wanted to be whipped. The official's facial features wrinkled together, looking very angry. You bunch of unscrupulous people. Who gave you the courage to challenge us? Now, pay me the money and food. The village chief also looked helpless. Their food and money had been plundered by the previous dignitaries and were now placed in the mansion. But now it has become Uchiha Xiao's mansion, and they don't dare to go in and get it. The official looked into the depths of the village. If I remember correctly, isn't there a wealthy family in your village? Didn't he plunder all the money and food? Hurry up and let him present it. Obviously, this official knew the inside story of this village's past. Sir, you can't do it. That's Mr. Xiao's territory now. The village chief keeps moving people away. Mr. Xiao. Hearing the village chief's words, the official almost laughed angrily. He slammed the long whip in his hand on the village chief's face. Repay Master Xiao. There must be a limit to your nonsense. Uchiha Xiao will like you. This kind of place. If Uchiha Xiao's name was only famous among ninjas at first, during the period before the Fourth Ninja War, his name had spread throughout the entire ninja world. The officials did not believe that Uchiha Xiao would only occupy this village, because this village was too poor, and a person with Uchiha Xiao's strength would have no problem capturing Damingfu. Why is it in a small village like yours? It's obviously you, a cunning person, who uses clever words to avoid paying taxes. Thinking of this, the official's face was filled with anger again, and he shouted loudly, "Come here, put this man to death on the spot. Show his head to the public." Wow! A burst of discussion broke out among the crowd. They couldn't believe that the village chief was suddenly sentenced to death. After hearing the official's words, the village chief knelt down with a look of fear on his face. He clasped his hands together and kept begging the official for mercy. The official looked at the village chief who was begging for mercy on his knees, feeling the fearful eyes around him, and his inner self-esteem was quickly satisfied. The official looked at the village chief condescendingly, stretched out his orchid fingers and pinched the beard on his chin. If you don't pay the food, you don't take the daimyo seriously. To despise the daimyo is a death penalty. After finishing speaking, two warriors stepped forward. One warrior grabbed the village chief's hair and pushed out the village chief's neck like a chicken. The other warrior held a samurai sword and raised it high. No, don't do it. The child's father. Dad. Suddenly, there were cries from the crowd. There was no doubt that they were from the village chief's family. The village chief had tears streaming down his face. He didn't dare to open his eyes because he was afraid of seeing Wu Shidao. He would wet his pants. Listening to the cries in the crowd, the official closed his eyes, as if hearing some sweet music, and a sickly smile appeared on his face. However, at this moment, an inappropriate sound interrupted the official's enjoyment. Who allowed you to offend my village? The officials and the two warriors looked over and saw a shadow there. They couldn't see who was speaking. Who is he? He is hiding in the dark and dare not show himself to others. The official shouted with raised eyebrows. The two warriors also looked towards the shadows. For some reason, they felt a little uneasy in their hearts. From the shadows, a figure slowly walked out, dressed in black, with light armor from the Sengoku period on his upper body, and a handsome face under his black hair. You are, no, it's impossible. When the official saw Uchiha Xiao's face, countless guesses suddenly flashed through his mind. A trace of luck flashed in his heart. This might be what these unscrupulous people were looking for. People dress up. The two warriors looked at each other. Didn't this village chief lie? At this time, Uchiha Xiao's cold voice sounded. Then who do you think I am? Uchiha Xiao slowly walked toward the official. He didn't do anything, he just walked, and a vague murderous aura and coercion spread out. As he walked, his dark eyes slowly turned scarlet. When he saw the red light in Uchiha Xiao's eyes, the official who was originally lucky suddenly felt that he had fallen to the bottom. It's really Uchiha Xiao. Why is this god of death here? The long whip held in the official's hand kept shaking, his throat swallowed, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. The two warriors seemed to be frozen. The moment they saw Sharingan, they already wanted to escape. But for some reason, the muscles in their legs began to tremble constantly. They couldn't even move a simple step, let alone run away. They didn't even dare to take a breath at 5.8. Uchiha Xiao walked straight past the two samurai without even looking at the two samurai. Just when the two samurai thought they were fine, an invisible force suddenly appeared on their necks. Ho ho! The two warriors made a sound, and they grabbed their necks with both hands, trying to do something, but their actions seemed to be in vain, and a line of blood suddenly appeared on their necks. Two dull sounds sounded, and the heads of the two warriors fell to the ground, and the two heads rolled to the feet of the officials. Saw. The two headless corpses spurted out a large amount of blood, splattering on the officials' horrified faces. Blood also splashed on Uchiha Xiao's body, and the sun shone on the blood, coating Uchiha Xiao with an unspeakable murderous aura. Chapter 156. Daimyo Clearance Plan. Please subscribe. Thump. The official knelt down, blood mixed with tears and snot staining his face. He could swear that this was the most embarrassing time in his life. Spare my life. Mr. Xiao, I don't dare to do it anymore. I am the imperial envoy appointed by the daimyo. Whatever you want, I can give you. Hearing the official's words, Uchiha Xiao's steps suddenly stopped. Huh, Xiao, Mr. Xiao. Seeing Uchiha Xiao stop, the official called out twice in fear. Uchiha Xiao didn't speak, his eyes seemed to be thinking about something. Is this Uchiha Xiao going to let him go? An idea came to the official's mind. In fact, Uchiha Xiao was not thinking about whether to let this official go, but he remembered something very important in the ninja world, but he had forgotten something. Daimyo. The daimyo is not a virtual king like the emperor of the island country, but the de facto head of state. This is reflected in the fact that the daimyo can directly appoint the shadow, the most important military force of the 5 major countries, and in the fact that the daimyo has the decision-making power to launch wars, such as the daimyo conference. Daimyo. Right, Uchiha Xiao murmured, but he really forgot about the existence of daimyo. Hearing the murmur from Uchiha Xiao's mouth, the official's face showed a smile. Yes. Even Uchiha Xiao has to worry about the influence of the daimyo. He will not attack the government easily. Yes. This is absolutely the case. Thinking like this, the official's face showed an arrogant smile. I didn't expect that you, Uchiha Xiao, would also obey the daimyo's words. However, this official misunderstood that the daimyo was as much a stumbling block to Uchiha Xiao's ambition as the ninja village. Uchiha Xiao doesn't want to be gentle. Since the daimyo will become an obstacle to the unification of the ninja world, then let's get rid of him directly with force. When he saw Uchiha Xiao walking past the official breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't expect that he could still survive, just when he wanted to go back and report the incident to the daimyo. Uchiha Xiao's voice appeared. You can do whatever you want. Kill him or let him go. It has nothing to do with me. Uchiha Xiao looked at the villagers and said calmly. After saying that, Uchiha Xiao walked into the village without looking back. The village chief looked at Uchiha Xiao's back, knelt down on his knees, and gave Uchiha Xiao a seat full of sincerity. Thank you, Mr. Xiao. Thank you for saving my life. Uchiha Xiao also heard the village chief's shout, but he didn't care too much about it. He had been hated by many people and grateful by many people in his life, and he was used to it. At this time, the villagers looked at the lonely official. Although they wanted to kill the thief, they did not want to be the first to take action. The official originally wanted to ask for mercy, but after seeing the performance of the villagers, he suddenly became arrogant. You guys, why don't you prepare horses for me quickly? I will spare you this time. The villagers looked at each other, and they all saw surprise in each other's eyes, but soon, the surprise turned into the flames of anger and revenge. The villagers did not respond to the official's cries. Instead, they looked at the officials with cold eyes. Originally, the official wanted to show his authority, but when he felt the subtle atmosphere around him, he suddenly shuddered. He looked left and right, trying to escape from this place. However, he found in despair that he had been surrounded by villagers. The official's knees knelt down again very naturally. Hey, everyone, can you spare my life? As long as you let me go, I will give you all my property in the capital. But no matter what he said, the villagers still surrounded the officials bit by bit. Ah, there was a scream from behind, but Uchiha Xiao did not look back, and the corners of his mouth curved slightly. In the village, Tsunade and Shizune were secretly observing. In fact, they were also ready to take action, but unexpectedly Uchiha Xiao appeared. Shizune originally thought that Uchiha Xiao would just ignore this matter. After all, Uchiha Xiao had always left her with an impression of indifference, so indifferent that it seemed as if everything in the world were just stupid dogs. She couldn't imagine that Uchiha Xiao would do such a brave act of justice. At this time, she remembered Tsunade's words, Uchiha Xiao is much better than the world thinks. Shizune looked at Tsunade in disbelief, but Tsunade had an expression like, look, I told you so. Shizune's expression immediately turned into a joke. Tsunade-sama, I didn't expect you to observe so carefully. It seems that you really like Uchiha Xiao. What did you say, Shizune? Tsunade covered Shizune's mouth while looking at Uchiha Xiao, who was passing by not far away. Uchiha Xiao actually sensed the aura of the two women, but he ignored it. The daimyo's problem needed to be solved. Then, he followed the chakra and found a large mountain not far away. Above the mountain, a thick cloud of smoke filled the air. Susanoo. A purple skeletal giant rose high and wreaked havoc on Yamanaka. Then the purple giant lifted up again, flesh and armor also appeared on his body, and a purple bow appeared in the giant's hand. Boom, boom. The purple bow and arrow flew out, flattening a hillside in one fell swoop. Not enough, not enough, not enough. Sasuke was in the middle of Susanoo, murmuring in his mouth, and his mind was filled with Uchiha Xiao's Susanoo Senju. Ever since he saw the devastating war between Uchiha Xiao and Senju Hashirama, he felt as if he had been beaten to death and started practicing crazily. Are you entertaining yourself? Uchiha Xiao's voice came over, but Sasuke didn't even look back. You won't teach me anything. Of course I can only practice here. As he spoke, another bow and arrow was shot, and a small forest was destroyed in an instant. Obviously, Sasuke has a lot of grievances. He obviously possesses so many powerful 730 techniques, but Uchiha Xiao didn't reveal any of them to him. This makes Sasuke, who has always wanted to become stronger, feel itchy. Uchiha Xiao is not Itachi, so he simply ignored Sasuke's tantrum. There is something you need to do. What's the matter? Sasuke looked at Uchiha Xiao, his eyes shining brightly. If he went to fight, he would be far better than entertaining himself here now. Uchiha Xiao opened her mouth and revealed her plan. Clear the daimyo. Sasuke exclaimed. You must know that in the ninja world, the daimyo is the true lord of the country, and the shadow is nominally the vassal of the daimyo. For a figure of this social status, no one has dared to attack the daimyo since ancient times. Uchiha Xiao looked at Sasuke. Are you scared? Sasuke suddenly sneered. Ah, how is that possible? I'm not even afraid of the five shadows, so why would I be afraid of a little big name? Uchiha Xiao knew that Sasuke had agreed, and then said, remember, 1 month later, on the eve of the Great Ninja War, you will have dealt with the daimyo of all countries for me. After hearing Uchiha Xiao's words, Sasuke clenched his fists. As a daimyo, there should be many strong people around him. Thinking of this, Sasuke's eyes flashed with excitement. In this case, I can become stronger. Naruto, just wait for me. Watching Sasuke leave, Uchiha Xiao actually wanted to say, no matter how hard you practice, you will just turn into a fruit and be eaten by me. Chapter 157. The Fourth Ninja War has officially begun. Please subscribe. Boom. A 50-meter purple giant suddenly rose and broke through many buildings. Ah, what exactly is this? Yes, it's a god. A sharp sword condensed in the giant's hand, and then he scraped it hard on the side. Boom. Crash. In an instant, countless houses were swept away with a sword, and countless lives disappeared in an instant. Everyone in the capital of the Kingdom of Fire was shocked. How many years has it been? The capital of the Fire Nation has not been invaded for many years, causing such damage. This is unprecedented in a century. Damn it, you're bullying me into having no one in the Fire Country. A samurai slapped the table, then summoned his soldiers and rushed towards the giant. Sasuke stood in Susanoo and immediately increased the chakra output on Susanoo. Soon, under everyone's horrified eyes, Susanoo's figure became taller and taller. 55 meters, 60 meters, 70 meters, 80 meters. Sasuke gritted his teeth and injected chakra frantically, but he found that Susanoo's figure seemed to only be able to stop at 85 meters. You can't even reach 100 meters. Sasuke felt extremely helpless. Now he can't even reach the 100-meter Susanoo, let alone Uchiha Xiao's 1000-meter red armor. Sasuke thought in his heart, I want to become stronger. With this thought in mind, Sasuke controlled Susanoo, raised his bow and arrow, and fired an arrow at the building in the distance. Boom. Like a missile falling, the originally bustling neighborhood instantly turned into chaos. Then Sasuke's voice spread through chakra. Come on. Strong men around the daimyo. Fight with me, Uchiha Sasuke. The daimyo of the Land of Fire was sitting in a sedan chair, fleeing out of the city in a panic. Even the daimyo of the Land of Fire did not expect this to happen. To be honest, in the ninja world, the protagonists of this world are ninjas after all. After the establishment of the ninja village system, the daimyo began to experience long-term peace. The 3 ninja wars were said to be wars between countries, but in fact, to put it bluntly, they were matters between ninja villages. None of these wars will affect the daimyo except for small countries. But now, the 60-year peace has been broken. The purple giant is wreaking havoc in the capital, announcing that the Fourth Ninja War has officially begun. Hearing that the enemy was Sasuke, the daimyo immediately cursed in the sedan chair, cursing Kakashi about how he became a Hokage. Just when he wanted to take refuge in Konoha and hold him to account, a panicked shout appeared. Because of your name, sir. Arrow. The daimyo immediately opened the curtain and looked back, only to see an arrow with purple light flying towards him. The daimyo was instantly shocked, and the angry expression on his face suddenly collapsed, and he shouted. Protect. Lu. The guardian ninja of the daimyo faced the bow and arrow, and someone patted the ground, and a thick earth wall was erected. However, under Susanoo's bow and arrow, this earthen wall was no different than a piece of paper. There was a roar, and the bow and arrow directly penetrated the earth wall and hit the daimyo's sedan hard. Lord Daimyo. The people around him hurriedly screamed and rushed to the hospital, which had turned into powder. Many samurai and sporadic ninjas ran towards Susanoo, and a few sparse escape techniques hit Susanoo, but Sasuke didn't even notice. Facing these behemoths dozens of meters high, the samurai and ninjas could only sigh feebly. Looking at the mess around him, Sasuke originally thought he would feel a little uncomfortable. He touched his heart, but he felt that every cell in his body was filled with joy. Sasuke bit his finger and formed seals on his hands. Summoning technique come out. Shukaku. One tail opened his eyes and saw the capital of the Fire Nation filled with smoke. At this time, Sasuke's voice came from above. Let's make a scene. In this way, Sasuke followed suit. He traveled all over the 5 major countries in 7 days. Without exception, Sasuke killed all the daimyo of the 5 major countries. The news spread throughout the ninja world in an instant. In Konoha village, a long-awaited meeting began in the Hokage office. Shikaku stood next to Kakashi, holding information about Sasuke these days. Naruto's face was filled with endless loneliness. He didn't expect that Sasuke had fallen to that point step by step. In his memory, although Sasuke was cold, stinky, and even a little unhuman, he was. Naruto frowned, recalling every moment with Sasuke in his mind. Sasuke blocked Shiro's attack for Naruto in the Land of Waves, faced Orochimaru during the Chunin exam, and Sasuke fought hard for his teammates. It's all because of Uchiha Xiao. If it weren't for Uchiha Xiao. A flame called hatred ignited in Naruto's heart. This time, it seemed that it was the first time that he really wanted to kill someone. Snapped. A strong hand patted Naruto's shoulder. Naruto looked back and saw Minato looking at him tenderly. Naruto, let's bring Sasuke back to the village together. Naruto looked at Minato blankly, the hatred in his eyes gradually dissipated, the agreement he made with little Sakura, the vow in his heart. Okay, I will definitely bring that guy back. The old determination appeared in Naruto's eyes again. Kakashi looked at Minato and found that Minato was secretly giving a thumbs up. Kakashi couldn't help but smile, as expected of a teacher. Kakashi put away his smile and looked seriously at the Jonin and Impure world reincarnation in front of him. Everyone, Uchiha Xiao's move probably has another purpose besides being the first shot in the battle. Everyone here is smart, and they all know what Uchiha Xiao's plan is. Combined with what he said before about unifying the ninja world, I'm afraid Uchiha Xiao is trying to clear the way for his ambition. However, some people think that Uchiha Xiao's move is very good. It doesn't matter if these daimyo are dead. In the future, we can take advantage of the situation and control the entire fire country without being shackles by the daimyo. Hashirama frowned. Tobirama, how could you have such an idea? Tobirama said of course. The so-called daimyo is originally a product of feudalism and a historical legacy of the samurai era. If there were no daimyo, Ninja Village would definitely be much better than it is now, and it would not be so difficult to face Uchiha Xiao. Hashirama's voice was the same. As a Hokage, he actually knew that Tobirama was right, but he, who had always loved peace, was still unwilling to accept this kind of thing. Kakashi patted Wang Zhao's hand. Okay, don't delve into this now. As Kakashi spoke, calm returned to the office. He thought in his mind that it would be good to start the fight earlier now. As early as a month ago, all the personnel and equipment were ready, waiting for Uchiha Xiao, but waiting was also an uncomfortable thing, and everyone forced themselves to cheer up every day. If things continue like this, it will definitely cause psychological problems for the personnel. So this time Uchiha Xiao started the war first, which was a good thing for everyone. Kakashi raised his head with sharp eyes. Everyone, I declare that the Fourth Ninja War has officially begun. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, everyone's spirits were lifted, and Naruto and other ninjas also took out a forehead protector from their arms. The forehead protector has the word, forbearance, written on it. This is a specially made forehead protector for the Ninja Alliance. Only members of the Ninja Alliance have this forehead protector. Naruto tied the straps of the forehead protector behind his head tightly. He looked at Asahi outside the window, with infinite fighting spirit rising in his heart. Chapter 158. New Pen 6 Paths. Please subscribe. In the village, the eagle flew into Uchiha Xiao's mansion. Master Xiao, the ninja world has announced that the battle has begun, and tens of thousands of ninja coalition forces have begun to mobilize. Uchiha Xiao nodded, his expression as normal, as if this battle had nothing to do with him. He was currently in the granary of the mansion. He had thrown all the food in it to the villagers. The entire granary was empty. To be precise, there were 6 figures standing inside. Standing in front of Uchiha Xiao were a group of Akatsuki members, but these Akatsuki members were not alive. They had black sticks inserted into their faces, looking like Pain's 6 paths. Uchiha Xiao's eyes flashed with purple light. As expected of a member of the Akatsuki organization, he fits well with Rinnegan. The Pain 6 paths chosen by Nagato before were all deliberately chosen by people who had a close relationship with Jiraiya. This also resulted in the failure of the Pain 6 paths to reach ultimate. The corpses of the members of the Akatsuki organization are of very good quality and can use their 6 paths abilities to the maximum extent. In addition, Uchiha Xiao's pupil power is infinitely higher than Nagato's. Now it can be said that every single Pain 6 paths has cage-level strength. Following Uchiha Xiao's thoughts, several corpses moved. With a tremor, they opened their eyes, revealing Rinnegan who exuded a dangerous aura. Uchiha Xiao spoke slowly. Go to all the major battlefields and bring a little 053 little Rinnegan shock to those rabble. Whoosh. The 6 paths figure disappeared instantly, quickly dispersed at an extremely fast speed, and rushed to various battlefields in the ninja world. On one battlefield, Onoki was the commander of this battlefield, and beside him stood Kuretsuchi and Akatsuki. At this moment, a huge white bird suddenly appeared, and a blond man with an upturned braid stood on the big bird. Brother Deidara, are you still alive? Black King looked surprised. Deidara, great, you're not dead. Kitu was excited and wanted to step forward. However, Onoki stretched out his hand to stop Akatsuchi. Akatsuchi, something is wrong. Akatsuchi looked confused. This is indeed Deidara's jutsu, and Uchiha Xiao doesn't seem to know how to reanimate jutsu. Onoki doesn't know if Deidara is still alive, but he still needs to be vigilant when faced with Deidara's sudden arrival. At this moment, Deidara spoke. I am indeed not Deidara. Onoki, are all your apprentices so stupid? This ironic familiarity. Onoki's eyes widened, and then a smile appeared on his face. Xiao, you are finally here. This is Xiao. Akatsuchi and Kuretsuchi couldn't believe it, but looking at Deidara's extremely cold face and the purple light in his eyes, they had to believe Onoki's judgment. Uchiha Xiao said sincerely. You still have such a mind at your age, Onoki, you are really good. Uchiha Xiao really thinks Onoki is good. After so many battles, Onoki not only was not killed by Uchiha Xiao, but his damage output was still among the best, which made Uchiha Xiao feel a little troublesome. Then, thank you for the compliment. As he said that, a dazzling white light appeared in Inamu's hand. Dust escape original stripping technique. A cylindrical dust escape instantly blasted towards Deidara. Uchiha Xiao did not move, but stretched out his arm. Hungry Kido. Deidara said slowly. In an instant, the powerful dust escape was sucked away by Deidara, and all disappeared. Onoki's expression was solemn. What is Rinnegan's ability? Kuretsuchi, summon the summoning beast quickly and share information with other battlefields. Da pulled his hands and hundreds of spider ninjas flew away. That's right, under Uchiha Xiao's powerful pupil technique, these pains not only have 6 paths abilities, but also have abilities in life. This scene was staged in other battlefields. Itachi, Kisame, Scorpion, Kakuzu, and Hidan were all equipped with one of the abilities of 6 paths and maintained their own skills and strength. All the 6 paths abilities have been allocated, which Uchiha Xiao doesn't care about. In his eyes, the current Rinnegan abilities are just the icing on the cake for him. It's better to allocate 6 paths to share the burden with him. As for Uchiha Xiao, he only needs to master the ability of summoning Gedo statue, and the rest is left to his own power. Uchiha Xiao also came to the last battlefield at this time, CBDF, which was a desert with more than 20,000 ninjas densely distributed on the opposite side. When the ninjas saw Uchiha Xiao, they felt even more stressed. They were all secretly cursing why Uchiha Xiao chose this battlefield. However, when they looked at the more than 20,000 comrades around them, the panic in everyone's hearts calmed down a little. This Uchiha Xiao couldn't kill all the more than 20,000 ninjas, right? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. As soon as such thoughts came up, they were quickly suppressed. Uchiha Xiao could not be so strong. Uchiha Xiao stood high and looked at the dense ninjas below. He didn't feel any pressure in his heart. On the contrary, he was a little bored. After all, he didn't feel any powerful aura from these ninjas. Uchiha Xiao squatted down, all the strength in his body concentrated on his feet. Call. Uchiha Xiao jumped up high, and a strong wind arose where he was standing. He's coming. So fast. Because of the charge just now, the speed of Uchiha Xiao in the air was very high. He stretched out one foot to face the people below. The next second, thick chakra gathered on the foot, and even flashed with bursts of blue light. Tien Shoji. Uchiha Xiao's feet touched the ground. First, a little white light appeared, and the next second, chakra was wrapped in extremely strong force and poured out instantly. Boom. In an instant, the ground cracked, smoke and dust rose, dozens of ninjas were kicked to death, and hundreds of ninjas were knocked away by the shock wave. The smoke and dust stirred up even caused many ninjas to cover their eyes. This kick brought a lot of shock to the ninjas, but before they could finish being surprised, Uchiha Xiao's figure moved. I saw him without any nails, turned into an afterimage and shuttled among thousands of ninjas. Uchiha Xiao was like a train, roaring with a huge sound, crushing everything in the way. Crackling. Gala. The sounds of flesh colliding together sounded one after another, accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, which made people feel chilly. Someone got scared and saw Uchiha Xiao getting closer and closer. Regardless of whether there were any companions in front of him, he spat a great fireball forward. What are you doing? In an instant, more than a dozen coalition comrades were burned to death by his fire style, but Uchiha Xiao disappeared. Behind. A voice appeared behind the ninja. Before the ninja could turn around, his neck was broken by Uchiha Xiao, and then Uchiha Xiao took out a kunai from the ninja's ninja tool bag. Purple lightning kunai. The powerful purple electricity wrapped the kunai and was thrown out by Uchiha Xiao. Gee. For a moment, the splashing blood turned into a straight line and continued. The kunai turned into a stream of purple light and sprinted through the sea of people. This kunai directly penetrated the sea of people, killing more than 100 ninjas. Chapter 159. 5 Shadows Gather. Please subscribe. This is really too strong. Some of the combatants on the periphery looked at Uchiha Xiao who had gone crazy and were horrified in their hearts. However, just as they were sighing, Uchiha Xiao appeared in front of them in just one breath. What? Just when the ninja felt that he was certain to die, a whirlwind hit Uchiha Xiao. Bang! Wind style knocked Uchiha Xiao into the air. Several people looked back and saw Tamari from Sunagaku. Her face was pale at this time and the fan in her hand was trembling slightly. It's amazing. I actually beat this kind of devil away. She seems to be the daughter of 4th Kage. No wonder, with such experience. Tamari also couldn't believe it. She actually knocked Uchiha Xiao away. At this time, she found that Uchiha Xiao seemed to be forming seals in the air. Everyone, up there. The ninjas quickly looked up and saw flames suddenly leaping out of Uchiha Xiao's mouth. Fire-style Long Yan sings. More than a dozen fire dragons burst out in an instant, overwhelming the sky and trying to hit the people below. Even before the fire dragon arrived, the hot and withering aura had already been transmitted to the heads of the ninjas. Quick, use water style. Facing a dozen huge fire dragons, some sparse water walls appeared, all of which seemed very powerless in front of the majestic fire style. Originally, there were only a few water style ninjas in the ninja world, and water style was a technique that was very environmentally demanding. In this desert, no matter how strong a water style ninja was, his strength would be reduced by 10%. Boom. In an instant, fire exploded, screams broke out, gravel and explosions burst out, and countless ninjas were reduced to coke. Everything around him turned into a sea of fire and scorched earth, and almost in an instant, this place turned into the legendary purgatory. This technique alone caused the ninja coalition to suffer a lot. In fact, not all of the 20,000 ninjas present were there. There were also some ninjas standing in the distance, responsible for observing the situation and conveying intelligence. Have you notified the 5 cages yet? At Uchiha Xiao's rate, if it takes longer, everyone will have to answer here. Mabuyi shouted anxiously. After all, Uchiha Xiao's speed is too terrifying. Just now the ninjas encountered Uchiha Xiao, then Uchiha Xiao attacked, until now, it was only 30 seconds. In these 30 seconds, Uchiha Xiao had killed almost 2,000 ninjas. Judging from this speed, it would only take Uchiha Xiao 5 minutes to kill all 20,000 ninjas. Is this still human at this speed? It is already a legend that the third Raikage faced 10,000 rock shinobi. Uchiha Xiao killed 20,000 ninja coalition forces in 5 minutes. If future generations see this record in history, they may directly think that their ancestors are lying. The ninja in charge of contact suddenly relaxed his frown and said loudly, "The 5 shadows said they have arrived." On the field, the fire style just now was very effective, but the 20,000 ninjas were too many to bear. The injured ninjas were dragged down for treatment, and other ninjas who were fine quickly made up for it. Uchiha Xiao continued to use taijutsu to attack, and every time he raised his hand, he could take away the lives of several ninjas. Call. Another blast of wind blew, causing Uchiha Xiao to take 2 steps back. Uchiha Xiao turned his gaze towards the caster. Tamari was originally proud to have saved another companion, but then he found that Uchiha Xiao's scarlet eyes quickly locked onto her. It's over. This was Tamari's first thought. Those who were targeted by Uchiha Xiao and were still alive seemed to have not yet appeared in the ninja world. At this moment, Uchiha Xiao's figure disappeared. Tamari was shocked and clenched the fan in her hand. In the next breath, a breeze appeared behind Tamari. Later, Tamari turned her head with a look of shock on her face, but Uchiha Xiao's fist was about to hit her throat, and she couldn't dodge it. Just when she was desperate, a touch of yellow sand suddenly appeared and blocked Uchiha Xiao's fist. Puff! Uchiha Xiao's fist froze. Uchiha Xiao looked in one direction and saw Gaara flying over with a gourd on her back. The next second, yellow sand wrapped Tamari's entire body and sent it to Gaara's side. Sister, are you okay? Gaara asked with concern. Tamari shook her head, but she was a little shaken after just escaping from death, and her legs are still shaking until now. Just when Tamari wanted to open the fan and continue the attack, Gaara said, "Sister, you don't need to do it yet." Tamari thought Gaara was worried, so she shook her head firmly. "No, Gaara, I'm not that cowardly yet." However, Gaara said confidently, "You really don't need you, because the 5 shadows have already assembled." Asking for flowers. Tamari was slightly surprised. At this moment, 4 powerful chakras appeared around him. Uchiha Xiao patted the sand on his body. Things are finally interesting. The ninja coalition also burst into cheers at this time. It's the 5 shadows. The 5 shadows are coming. The blue sky is here. Finally saved. A group of ninjas began to slowly retreat. Uchiha Xiao faced off against the 5 shadows. This kind of battlefield was not something ordinary ninjas like them could participate in. Uchiha Xiao looked at the 5 tall, short, fat and thin figures in front of him, with different shapes, and the corner of his mouth curved. This kind of lineup can be considered interesting. Listening to Uchiha Xiao's arrogant words, Raikage said dissatisfied. Uchiha Xiao, don't be arrogant. Our 5 shadows are here to deal with you this time. 0. Uchiha Xiao tilted his head slightly. It seems that your broken arm is not enough, hey. However, I is not as angry as before. This scene does not allow him to act on his own initiative. Stop talking so much nonsense to him, come on. Onoki said in a muffled voice. After hearing Onoki's order, Terumi Mei took the lead. Lava-style monster melting technique. A large ball of highly corrosive goo attacked Uchiha Xiao, and Uchiha Xiao jumped to avoid the melting monster. The melting monster hit the ground and made a terrifying sizzling sound, and then a sinkhole was corroded. Uchiha Xiao was in the air and originally wanted to form a seal, but then he saw waves of yellow sand coming towards him. Uchiha Xiao jumped flexibly between several strands of yellow sand with her feet, forming seals with her hands while avoiding attacks. Fire-style dragon fire technique. A straight flame passed between the pile of sand and hit Gaara accurately. Gaara had to put up a sand shield to resist Uchiha Xiao's fire style. Under the high temperature, the yellow sand instantly turned into beautiful glass and scattered on the ground, while the sand shield was constantly shaking, seemingly unable to withstand Uchiha Xiao's fire-style attack. At this moment, a burst of electricity suddenly came from the sky. Uchiha Xiao decisively put down the fire style, and then stepped aside. At this moment, Ai's thunderous fist passed by Uchiha Xiao. Boom! A big hole was made in the ground, flying rocks splashed on Uchiha Xiao's body, and Uchiha Xiao's expression remained as usual. Chapter 160. Death of Kakashi. Please subscribe. Purple lightning. A lush electric light appeared behind him, but Uchiha Xiao seemed to have eyes behind him. Without even looking, he reached behind him and grabbed Kakashi's wrist. Nani? Kakashi was very surprised, but Uchiha Xiao ignored his surprise and grabbed Kakashi and threw him directly towards Terumi-mei and others. Seeing Kakashi and Zidian rushing towards them, Gaara quickly put up a sand shield. Boom! After shaking for a while, he managed to block Kakashi's purple lightning. I wiped his sweat and said, Master Hokage, this lightning style is good. I rarely adjusted the atmosphere. Kakashi also breathed a sigh of relief. Kaido, thank you. After saying that, he looked at Uchiha Xiao solemnly. Uchiha Xiao's attack methods and perception methods are really elusive. Terumi-mei opened her mouth and spit out, 843, in a burst of corrosive mist. Boil-style Chaowu technique. Uchiha Xiao didn't dare to resist. With a thought, red chakra emerged from his body. Susanoo. Huge white bones appeared wrapped in red light. Zetsu. The acid mist hit Susanoo and made a heart-wrenching sound. Uchiha Xiao continues to inject chakra, preparing to transform Susanoo into the second form. Finally forced him to use this technique. The other four shadows' eyes flashed. In fact, they were just acting in the battle, cooperating with the next person's attack. Onoki was hiding in the dark, and a bright cube appeared between his hands. While Susanoo is still in her first form, she must launch a strong attack immediately. This is Onoki's plan. According to his observation, Susanoo at this time is only in its first form. In the first form, both the caster and Susanoo are very slow, and their defense is not as heaven-defying as the full form. Then he only needs to take advantage of Uchiha Xiao's Susanoo to be in the first form, and Onoki quickly throws out a dust release. In this case, Uchiha Xiao is likely to be directly wiped out by him. Dust release limited stripping technique. A cube with white light flew out quickly, and Uchiha Xiao turned his head. At this time, the cube had already arrived on Susanoo. In an instant, the cube expanded rapidly, directly covering the entire Susanoo. Then, the white light of the cube became even more dazzling, and everyone could not help but squint their eyes. Although Chen escape is powerful, the movement is very small, giving it a feeling of elegance and neatness. The 5 people in a group of ninjas looked around nervously, trying to find traces of Uchiha Xiao. Kakashi quickly used the perception ninjutsu, and 5 seconds later, he came to the conclusion of perception. I don't feel Uchiha Lian's chakra. The other 4 shadows were a little nervous when they heard this. They didn't feel Uchiha Xiao's chakra. There were only 2 possibilities. One is the most ideal possibility. Uchiha Xiao is directly transformed into molecules, and the chakra is gone, so naturally he can't sense anything. The second possibility is that Yu Zhixiao used some means to escape Onoki's dust escape, and then immediately restrained his aura. At this time, he was waiting for an opportunity in the dark, ready to give them a fatal blow at any time. Just as everyone was looking around, a voice suddenly appeared from Kakashi's ear. It's a pity, it's the second possibility. Purple lightning. Kakashi's pupils shrank, and he condensed a purple lightning bolt on his hand as quickly as possible. However, it was still slow after all, and a black rod had already pierced Kakashi's heart. Bah, wah, what? Kakashi looked down at his chest and saw a black rod dripping with blood, apparently coming from the back. Bastard. I waved his fist angrily, and Uchiha Xiao dodged the violent punch. Kakashi, on the other hand, was about to fall to the ground due to lack of support. Wow. Gaara controlled the sand to catch Kakashi. Terumi-mei immediately signaled to the ninja troops to send medical ninjas over. At this time, Uchiha Xiao spoke. Do you think Kakashi can be saved? The other 4 shadows also looked ugly. Their hearts were directly stabbed. Unless they had surgery, there was no chance of treatment. But how could surgery be possible in this environment? If Tsunade, the medical master, is here. Everyone thought in despair that Tsunade was now Uchiha Xiao's. Despite this, Terumi-mei comforted her. Hokage-sama, please hold on, medical help will be here soon. Kakashi covered the scar on his chest. He felt that his life was passing quickly. He shook his head, knowing that Terumi-mei was just comforting him. At this time, Kakashi found that countless memories in this life were recalled in his mind. Sure enough, When a person dies, will he recall the memories of this life? Countless faces flashed through Kakashi's mind, including Rin, Obito, Hatake Tsukumo, and Namikaze Minato. Finally, the faces stopped at the two faces of Sasuke and Naruto. Cough, cough. Terumi Mei hurriedly took off Kakashi's mask, making Kakashi's cough easier. The next second, blood and heart fragments were coughed out of Kakashi's mouth. The four shadows knew that Kakashi couldn't hold it any longer, and Onoki hurriedly said, Master Hokage, if you have any last words, I will help you convey them to the ninjas of Konoha. Four shadows surrounded Kakashi, and Uchiha Xiao stood not far away, watching this scene with his arms folded. Uchiha Xiao didn't take action. He was not shameless enough to attack Kage at this moment. With his penultimate hearing, he could clearly hear Kakashi's last words at this moment. Kakashi looked up at the sky. After all, I am not a qualified Hokage super. After saying that, all the strength in Kakashi's body disappeared in an instant, his head tilted, and his whole body was lifeless. Everyone looked at Kakashi, even though they had a lot of hatred towards Konoha before, but now seeing Kakashi die in front of them, the four shadows could not help but feel sad. Hokage-sama. No. There are also many Konoha ninjas in the ninja army. When they saw Kakashi's sacrifice, they couldn't help but shed tears and cried bitterly. 0.1. Not only did the village's shadows disappear, but one of the five shadows was missing, and the ninja world lost another major force. Naruto, who was coming not far away, suddenly looked different. Minato asked with concern from the side. Naruto, what's wrong? Naruto shook his head. He just felt that his heart suddenly felt empty, as if he had lost something. The last time I felt like this was when my master Jiraiya passed away. Naruto's heart trembled, and then he shook his head, mentally admonishing himself not to scare himself. Dad, can you speed up? I feel something is wrong. Minato was stunned for a moment, then nodded heavily. The screen moved forward, with first generation, second generation and third Hokage following behind them.